Hello everyone, my name is Crimson, and I've been asked a couple of times to do explanations of the speedrun. People want to know like the gem cutting order and things. There is a max roll planner in the description for this video, which includes like the bare bones of what the tree is going to be, what the gem cutting order is going to be. And then this is like the long form video commentary explainer on how speedrunning works on Mercenary and 0.3. You're going to watch my PB with me. My PB is a 2:35.46, which is not as good as the best PBs that exist, which are like 2:18, 2:19, 2:20, those sorts of times. So people are about 15 minutes faster than me. On race day, the race winning time for the 0.3 race cycle was a 2:30. So this is definitely reflective of what a top quality run can be like. I do lose a couple of minutes though to like skill issue stuff that we'll talk about as we get there. But I do want to note, this run is going to focus mostly on explaining things that are patch independent. I'll be talking about like map reads and XP targets and when to shop for upgrades and things, which should be mostly patch proof. And I'll try and call out when I talk about things that are like specific to 0.3 racing, which will change with the launch of 0.4, and we don't know when exactly those patch notes are going to come out. So we'll take a look at those things. So we create a mercenary and we get out onto the riverbank. Select our WASD, move our wisdom scrolls to our preferred slot, and we are off to the races. We're watching at 2x speed just so you guys don't have to watch like a lot of the generic combat stuff for too long. So our Riverbank read is pretty typical stuff. There's fragmentation rounds, and we have a normal Riverbank duration. We put fragmentation rounds in, and then we're going to go ahead and fight the Miller. Fighting the Miller as any ranged character, you want to get him away from the bottom of this ramp. So the actual like combat cycle for Mercenary is kind of silly. You want to get away from the bottom of the ramp, so that way this can be like off screen during the killing blow. The reason being that if it is off screen, you're actually able to duck under the gate a couple seconds sooner than you otherwise would be able to. But in order to do that, you have kind of a weird like 3-phase cycle to him. You try and get the Miller to walk over here, and then he summons his little ring of zombies around him, and then you try to like kite them this way, and then when the Miller starts getting low, you try to get back to this side of him. The idea being that you want the mob to be far away from you when you kill him, so it can't prevent you from like picking up the gear, but you also want this off screen. I don't remember how well I did it in this particular one, but we will take a look. So we kite him away from that. He summons his little ring. Then we try and get to this side of the mob and kite them toward the gate. Miller starts getting low, and so we start to kite him back away from the gate again. And you can see the mob is safely far away from us. We're about as far away as we can be from that gate, so this is a pretty good execution. We level up, we buy a bunch of this stuff here, and then we come to Renley here. We take that level 1 skill gem, and then we sell everything. You'll notice that we got 18 gold from that item, and then we're going to get like 15 gold from each of these. So our total gold is going to be well under 100. There are two magic numbers that we care about. One is specifically 154 gold, which is the cost of a level 1 pair of gloves that have some damage modifier on them. We don't even know if those exist in the shop, but there's no point in even looking if we can't afford them. And the same thing is true of crossbow upgrades that would increase our damage. They would cost around 220, depending on the specific crossbow prefix that we care about. And so we're not going to have enough gold to shop for either of the things that could potentially give us an upgrade. So we're just going to sell everything and use the money on wisdom scrolls instead to identify items as we go, hoping to find those upgrades in the wild. If we had gotten some item that would sell for a big chunk of money, like a belt or a ring or a unique, then we would definitely have enough money to do some shopping here and we would put our regex in. But instead, we just sell everything and then cut our explosive grenade, and you'll see we only have 71 gold. So we buy our wisdom scrolls and get out into the wild here. Then what we're going to do is, if you look at this portion of the wall, we're going to hug this portion of the wall like this, and that will allow us to differentiate which clear fell that we're in. Clearfell orientation and map read is going to depend on league, so this is like a very specific trick to O.3. The tells that you would look for in O.2 or O.1 or O.4 eventually will be different than this, because the orientation of this map is different league to league. And then here we get the longer of the two possible maps. So now we know we've hugged this wall, it didn't dead end. So now the encampment where we get our level 1 gem is going to be here-ish. And then we are going to find along a wall here. The exit is going to be like here-ish. And Bira will either be here-ish or here-ish. So what we're going to do is we're going to run down here. And then if Bira ends up being here, we will know that because we'll be able to see environmental clues that'll tell us where that is. And if not, we're going to grab the gem and then go hunt for her up here before going to the exit. Okay, so we see the mysterious campsite. And then we go ahead and grab the exit checkpoint. And we checkpoint back. And we cut Contagion. Our main way of engaging mobs you're about to see is going to be... Oh, what? No, we didn't get a mob enter this time. That's all right. So, as we're killing Bira here, the main way that we engage mobs for most of the first half of Act 1 up until around Hunting Grounds is going to be putting Contagion on a mob and then using fragmentation rounds to sort of do chip damage to the whole mob and get that stuff to promulgate a bit faster. And then we check for items here, just trying to find junk to sell and equip, just have something on, clear out our inventory. And then here we are going to reset at checkpoint, which de-aggroes the mob that is following us, so that way we can have a clean 1v1 fight against Ariadne the Witch to get our support gem. And so we're wearing armor just to make this a little easier. We pre-stack the grenades before rolling out, and then when we roll out, she spawns on top of our grenades that are already here. And that way we can get damage on her right away. We're just trying to stay off of her icy ground and trying to not kite toward open areas, so that way we do not need to fight things here. So what we're doing now is we're casting Contagion and then using those frag rounds like we said. And Ariadne's dead. We get some Gauze Wraps. You'll see we identify them. We get 1 to 6 lightning and increased attack speed. So the two best mods that we can possibly get. Those are great. And then we get our support gem, which you will see in a second. I cut into multi-shot 1. And I put that on explosive grenade. So far, so good. Check a blue chest up here. Get a quiver. Quiver is good money. And then now we need to talk about this map read for a second. So we have an entry tile here, which points down. And we're going to be in a wide open area, which is diamond shaped like this. And we found Ariadne's hut here. So we know that there is going to be something here and something here. One of these will be the Grim Tangle and the other one will be the Waypoint. We need to find both of those. And then because of the league that we're in, I know already that the exit to the map is going to be down here. If you're unfamiliar with how map reading works in general, I won't go into it in too much depth here. Just know that in general, the Grellwood here is a big wide open square area, and you're going to want to get to like the far opposite corner in most cases, and the points of interest that you care about are almost always going to form in the like corners of the square here, where Ariadne will be opposite the Bramblegast, and the Waypoint and Grim Tangle will be opposite each other, generally speaking. It gets more specific than that if you want to become like a top-level speedrunner. There are variations that matter, but in general is like a league start guide. That's all you need to know. So we find one of those things, and then we path down here and try and find the other. I'm not taking any experience here because I simply do not need to. This like blob on the map pushed the waypoint to not be here. So this is like what's called a blocker tile, but same general location. And then we're going to go to that wall location I talked about earlier, and we should be good to go. Okay, and then now we come into this area here, and you can see we have this immediate block sort of shape here where we're forced to turn like this. That means that we're going to know that we end up here is our first obelisk, and then they're going to be roughly linear straight down from there. So we find our first rest obelisk. We're taking a little bit of experience here because that was a magic pack, so that's good. Good experience. So now we're level 3. And what we're doing is we're just throwing contagion onto mobs and then putting grenades under their feet. So that way this guy, when he dies from contagion, will hopefully like jump to this guy and this guy. These 3 contagion people will hopefully contagion this person. This person's HP is low, so we're going to contagion them in the hopes that it does this. So we're just trying to like very specifically put contagion into the middle of all the different independent packs of monsters, and then use our other tools, explosive grenade and fragmentation rounds, to get that to promulgate efficiently. Okay, so I'm just throwing contagion into the middle of different mobs. And we pick up the Ruined Girdle, and then like I said earlier, we know that because this was here and we recognize this entry hallway shape, we know that we're going to need to go essentially straight down. Really, it's more like 7 o'clock than 6 o'clock, so we expect one to be here, and they will be collinear. So we're going to just sort of follow this wall that way. Okay, and then before we find the next obelisk, we find the Abyss, which is really, really good. Abysses in 0.3 give guaranteed rewards per zone. There's been some indication from Mark and Jonathan in one interview with Ziggy D that like the fixed zone rewards will be a common feature of engaging whatever the new league mechanic is per league, but we don't know if the like list of per zone rewards is going to be identical in 0.4. And in fact, we don't at the time of recording know what the league is going to be for 0.4, if there will be a full league mechanic, if it'll be delve or harvest or whatever else we know. It'll be breach, who knows. But what we do know is that they're going to try and keep the idea of like fixed engage the league mechanic, get a fixed zone reward. That's probably going to be a feature of every full-fledged league in PoE2 going forward. And in any case, in 0.3, the reward for clearing this abyss is 2 things that we care about. 1, it's good XP. 2, it gives us, when we clear this particular abyss, a level 2 skill gem, which we're going to use to cut Frostbomb and get elemental exposure, which will carry us through all of Act 1 and up through the first half of Act 2. And then the second thing is when we close this abyss, there's an NPC back in town that'll give us another support gem, and that is going to stack onto our explosive grenade skill to give us elemental armament. So far, so good. We found exactly what we want. We're in an easy-to-read Red Veil layout. Okay, so we get the Abyssal Surge, and then again, we're using that same throw the Abyss onto different parts of the mob. And here we get our Uncut Skill Gem level 2. Now, in order to use that Uncut Skill Gem level 2, we will need to assign 1 point of int here, because it has an int requirement that's higher than what we have natively on Mercenary. So we just throw a point on here, and then we go back to our main tree, where we're going to be sort of like just taking all these projectile damage nodes, and then eventually coming down here to get the 2-handed wheel. So we just do that so we can get our elemental exposure off, which increases our damage. And we're going to fight Rust King in a second, so we want good single target damage. And then again, just the same sort of cycle. Throw contagion on things, try and fragmentation round through big chunks of enemies, try and kite them all together. And then now we upgrade to our flasks. We engrave our skill here, and like I said, remember there was one up here, now there's one here, now there's one here. Sort of a 7 o'clock collinearity there, which we recognize from the beginning of the zone. And then now we've cut our Frost Bomb. We slot Frost Bomb in down here, and we just try and clear up a little bit of the junk mob while we wait. Throw Frost Bomb under the Rust King's feet, and then just we try and move from one side of him to the other, so that way he doesn't step off of our Frost Bomb. So if he starts walking forward, we dodge to the opposite side. And now we're again throwing contagion on the mob and fragmentation rounding through it. So far, pretty straightforward stuff. Combat cycle pretty easy. And then when we kill him, he's going to give us a guaranteed level 3 skill gem as well as our last rune. A couple of cool things in this particular drop here. Potential upgrades for chest piece and movement speed boots. Feathered Robe is going to be good money. Storm Rune, 1 to 10 lightning damage, pretty good. Skull Gem that we already knew would happen. Rune Skullcap, obviously quest item, and then Iron Head Spear here. So we've gotten 2 things that we can sell for money, so we can go shop for those damaged gloves or a crossbow upgrade. And then we've gotten potentially movement speed boots and a decent chest piece, but we will need to ID these things. So we're going to go back to town, and we buy a bunch of wisdom scrolls, and you can see that we ID these 2 things first. We ID everything in the inventory, we sell that. Okay, and then we get really great boots right off the bat. The only prefix we even possibly care about, as you can see, is this 10% increased movement speed. A little bit of fire res is helpful, but these are not like endgame GG boots yet, but they're better than not having boots, so the movement speed is good. Put those on, and then we get our other support gem here, which we will cut in a second. And we want to see if we can find a better crossbow. We do find a better crossbow. I will show you what it was in a second. So if I can pause at the right frame, I'm moving too fast at the 2x speed there. Okay, 46% increased physical damage. I'm going to call this IPD throughout the entire run. Increased physical damage. So it does 12 to 22 and then plus 6 dex. Not the best crossbow in history. Pretty mediocre crossbow, in fact, but any good prefix is good enough. So this is fine. This is a fine crossbow for now. And then those movement speed boots are pretty important. And you'll notice if you look at my timer on the top left of the screen, we're actually pretty unhappy with where we are on the time. Our Grim Tangle entry is 9:55. Just so you know, a more typical Grim Tangle entry for a top level runner might be between 8:35 and 8:55. So we're roughly speaking a minute to a minute and a half behind pace right now. So this is not a particularly good start. So then we buy all of our wisdom scrolls that we can by control clicking, and we're going to be using this stack of wisdom scrolls to organize things, to ID things as we go on, because obviously we want like rings. We don't have a good chest piece right now. We don't have a belt, so we're going to be using those things over time. And we just want to be able to stay in the field for as long as possible. We cut elemental armament. People often ask why, if you're doing fire-based skills, do you prefer elemental armament to something like fire attunement? And the answer is this elemental armament support gem is going to need to persist through multiple crossbow upgrades. We have our level 4 crossbow. It's possible we find a better level 4 crossbow. And then this is also going to need to be used on our level 10 and level 16 crossbow base upgrades. And we don't know what those are because we're going to find them in the wild. So they could have big cold damage on them. They could have big lightning damage on them. They could have big fire damage on them. And in the average of all of the different elemental damage prefixes that we can get, elemental armament is better because it doesn't have the downside fire attunement does, where fire attunement reduces the amount of cold and lightning damage that you have. So you sacrifice a couple % damage in like the best case, but in the average case, it ends up being dramatically better since you don't know what modifiers your rings are going to have. They could have big lightning damage on them. What your glove is going to have. Our gloves already have lightning damage on them. Elemental armaments is just more consistent across the average case when we're upgrading frequently. If we were in the end game and we knew that we were going to have like a perfect optimized crossbow, we may not want elemental armament because we may prefer fire attunement because we're no longer swapping crossbows all the time. But while speedrunning, we need to hold on to this gem for a really, really long time. And so that's what we do. Then we go checkpoint reset. You'll notice I'm just throwing out a little bit of extra damage here, and that's because I am not yet happy with my level. So there you go. We just hit a very important level for us, which is level 5, and now I am trying to get through the Grim Tangle. This is a particularly bad Grim Tangle read, but oh well. So we get into Cemetery of the Eternals at 11. Might be good to note you want lightning damage because it lets you shock 2. Yeah, exactly. So, like, you would prefer lightning damage to almost anything else because it gives you a damage multiplier. Thank you to Guy That Dies for pointing that out. But at the 101 level, it's just, you don't know what you're going to get, and it's hard to force any particular damage onto your thing. But if you had an exactly equivalent amount of cold damage versus lightning damage, you would prefer the lightning damage because shock is more important than freeze. Also, I get into Cemetery of the Eternals at 11:17, which is like not good. Not good at all, in fact. But that's okay. We're about a minute and a half behind what I would say is a satisfactory run. Like, a sub 10 cemetery entry is like pretty good. So we're not happy with this. Cemetery of the Eternals, quick 101 like level of heuristic map reading. It's a big square. The square looks like this. Common places for the entry to be to the different things that you care about are to either side of the entry tile, along this wall, and in this back corner. It's more complicated than that if you're a top-level speedrunner. This video is not aimed at top-level speedrunners. Guy that dies and I know more about it than this, but just know that, like, vaguely, I'm looking at the size of my light radius. My light radius is this wide. What that means is that my character is here, and I want to be half a light radius away from the wall. So I'm going to be, like, here-ish, because I expect the wall to be here-ish. And this distance from my character's path to the wall, or to the mapped boundary, is half of my light radius. Yep, so like I said, one of those common locations we just found, Mausoleum of the Praetor right here. Guy that dies, that is because, to answer your question, how do you have clap leader 1 when I have the most viewed clip? It's because it's a monthly leaderboard. What up, glitched? Okay, so we're searching for the other layout here, and the reason that we care about that other layout is because we want to ideally be able to hit level 7. We get an iron ring from this cemetery here. And this sarcophagus gives us an iron ring. That's 1 to 4 fizz damage, which is great. We're very happy with this. Smiley face. And then also ring prefixes include more damage, so we're going to immediately spend some currency on this if we have some. We do not. And so now we're just running around. We found Tomb of the Consort. We go into Tomb of the Consort. Tomb of the Consort! Quick 101 level. Again, not advanced speedrunner shit. Regular normal person shit. This is the entry tile. The entry tile is T-bone shaped. You can potentially go this way. You can potentially go this way. You check both sides because it is possible. In fact, it is relatively likely that the ambush support gem point of interest is going to be right to the other side of this hammerhead-shaped entry tile. Other than that, the hammerhead-shaped entry tile will generally connect to some big loop-shaped thing, and you're just going to follow the loop. Most typically, the boss fight is going to be far away, so you try to get away from the entrance. If you're a top-level speedrunner, it's more complicated than that, and you have to memorize a table base, but this is a video aimed at people who are not top-level speedrunners. I check one side, it's not there. I check the other side. I take a little bit of XP. We want to be level 7 if we can. I'm just trying to, again, throw contagion and frag rounds through things, and I'm trying to check places where I know that it is likely to give me a support gem. And then I hit level 6. Level 6 lets me spend that level 3 gem earlier to upgrade to a level 3 explosive grenade, so now I'm doing a lot more damage. Then we find a jeweler's strongbox, and this is why I PB'd, because jeweler's strongboxes drop jewelry, and jewelry is incredibly OP. So I already have that iron ring, and then a yellow jeweler's strongbox guarantees me a yellow piece of jewelry, and probably more than one. So I ID this. We get 53% more rarity of contained items, identified items, and packs of monsters. Cursed by Winter's Hag is a useless, like, who cares, it doesn't do anything modifier. That's a junk modifier. Everything else pretty good. More XP, more rarity of stuff. So we're again just using our contagion frag rounds support here. Pick up a support gem. Support gem is cool because now it means that we do not need to be super worried about finding that ambush point of interest. Ordinarily we would care a lot. Then we find a dank ruby ring. First ruby ring has, if you look at it, it has lightning damage. it has max life, it has cold res, it has lightning res. This is an insane ring. This is an awesome ring. The only way it could be better is if max mana was replaced with like damage of some kind. But the max life, good. The fact that it high rolled on the fire resistance is good. The fact that it rolled dual resistance suffixes is good. It's good. Lightning damage, best possible modifier. Okay, and then you can see I am very excited about that. And the other one rolled mana regen rate, which is not very exciting. And I immediately slam it and get 1 to 5 lightning res as well. And you'll notice that this has 50 fire res. So I already have 30 fire res on one ring and 27 fire res on another. I have 57% fire resistance before I have killed Abyssal. I'm level 6, and I have solved my fire res for the entire run. In addition to having lightning damage on both of my rings, which is the best possible modifier. We come here, we do the ambush. You'll notice that the yellow item that we got from that chest is a pair of torn gloves. So when we kill this guy, we pick up all this stuff, and then we ID the pair of gloves. At least we should ID the pair of gloves. And you'll notice that these gloves are completely fucking insane. These gloves have 2 to 5 fizz and 4 to 5 cold. So we now have the best 3 accessories we can possibly have. Double damage rings, which solve our problem here, and then we also get double damage gloves. So I now have like insane damage. And in fact, this is better than having a good crossbow because these are accessories. I can hold on to them for longer and upgrade to higher and higher base tier crossbows and carry over all these modifiers. This is ridiculous. It may as well be a twink run at this point. I'm like freaking out. I'm so excited. I'm telling people to spam W in the chat. They are obliging me. You'll see how ridiculous this is because I do Abyssal this fast, which is crazy. And I get a Slim Mace. Slim Mace, very good for leap slamming later. Slim Mace is the level 10 one-handed mace base. It has the fastest base attack time of any mace base in the game. So it is better to use a level 10 mace base for your leap slam from a pure mobility perspective than anything else. So I go, and now we're going to do Mausoleum of the Praetor. Mausoleum of the Praetor, quick, extreme 101 level. You're going to spawn in a corner. We're in a corner. We don't know which corner we're in, but we do eventually. You're going to find a square tile in the middle, which has a ring and 4 connections. I call this tile the wheel tile. I don't know why I call it that. Someone called it that to me, and I am now calling it that in front of you. Generically speaking, boss opposite side wheel tile. If boss not opposite side wheel tile, boss other corner. One of these walls is long, one of these walls is short. It's along the long wall. But generically speaking, you just run away from this, find the wheel tile, and believe that the wheel tile is pointing you the correct direction. So we've already found the wheel tile. You can see it is here. It's a loop. It has the 4 things. It's a square. So I now believe that the boss is roughly here because entry, wheel tile, badoop. We'll see how close it is to being there because I don't remember what happened in this particular one. I get dead-ended a couple of times, and I get dead-ended multiple times, and so I checkpoint back. And I get dead-ended again. Holy shit, what a terrible layout. But I can already tell that the boss is here. It may be hard to see on your screen, but I can see this little bit of the tile here, and I know that that's the boss room because I recognize the shape of the boss room tile. And so I just run past things, and here is Draven. You'll notice I'm currently level 7. And so again, we're just throwing out all of our frost bombs, and here we are, we're good to go. So we've actually gone from being really far behind to pretty good. Like I said, something like a 10 flat entry is the pretty good entry to Cemetery of the Eternals. We're on pace for like a 1745 Lachlan kill, 18 flat, something like that, which is about on pace. So we've made up a full minute. Most of that minute came in the positioning of those two dungeons. And I'm going to go to the bathroom really quickly, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back. So, like I said, most of the reason that this run is going well so far, in addition to the damage from those items hasn't had enough time to like save us a whole bunch of combat time yet. So the reason that we made up a full minute in the cemetery here is because we only needed to explore a very small fraction in order to find the things that we care about. And so we ended up not needing to do anything in the cemetery here. We do make a bold decision, which is to skip the cemetery abyss. And the cemetery abyss gives a regal. So this is a very risky decision, because that means that we may not be able to upgrade our level 16 crossbow down the line, but we're gambling at this point because our item RNG is so good that we can probably overcome a bit of item deficiency later on, especially if we get lucky with like a wild regal drop, or if we are able to find or shop for a really good Act 2 crossbow in the absence of this. So, risky decision. It's my PB, so it pays off. We sometimes lose runs to things like this. As you can see, we have like completely insane, ridiculous damage. We still haven't even equipped those two rings that have damage on them. Okay, so we get a 1752 Lachlan kill time. That's a little faster than is typical for me. Something like an 1830 is more typical. So we probably saved like a minute and a half or so over a pretty typical cemetery time. But, you know, not bad. And then we find a regal orb from Lachlan himself that I just picked up. So our risky decision to not kill the cemetery abyss has already been rewarded. This run has god tier RNG. I pick up the face mask. Has a big chunk of max life on it, as well as a little bit of dex. That's pretty good. And then I'm still not level 8, so I can't equip those rings yet. We immediately find the support gem in here. Just so you know, in the league that this PB takes place in, we know Hunting Grounds is shaped like this. Hunting Grounds is not bugged, so the entrance will always be here, and the exit will always be either here or here, which means that the correct thing for us to do is to wall hug like this. Am I doing a YouTube video? Yes. Say hi to YouTube. We pick up our support gem, and then now we have a slightly different strategy. So fragmentation round starts to suck, and so what we do is we cut flash grenade. We cut flash grenade, and then we put multi-shot on it. And we put multi-shot on it, and then now our strategy, since flash grenade has an extremely short fuse, is we're going to be using contagion and then throwing flash grenade out to pop areas of enemies. So same type of thing that we would have been doing with fragmentation round earlier, but now we're just doing it with flash grenade. And then flash grenade becomes part of our core grenade cycle later for stunning and pinning bosses that we will talk about when we get later into the run. But for right now, we just cut multi-shot and pin, and then you'll notice we're just running around, wall hugging, trying to find the exit. Like I said, it's a map like this in a big square, and the exit will be either here or here. It ends up being here, and now we need to just find the Crobel and the Abyss. So we checkpoint back, and now we're looking for the Crobel. The Crobel is more likely to spawn in one of these big open corners, so we run the opposite direction, hoping to find the Crobel. We do a bit of inventory management, We hit level 8. We're just trying to pop rare and magic packs as we go. We realize that Temporal Bubble fucking sucks, so we don't fight it. And then we find Fraythorn. And now we've found the Crobel. I'm going to make a very subtle, sneaky little point about the Crobel here, because other runners don't do this, and they should start doing this. So I pre-stack all my grenades, but here's the important thing that I'm going to point out as we fight Crobel. Crobel, we know where they go, but the important thing is every time that you advance Crobel one phase, he gets all of his debuffs cleared. So if you've applied exposure, the exposure goes away. If you apply stun meter, the stun meter goes away. If he's blinded, that goes away. So what you do is you do enough damage to advance him from phase 1 to phase 2, and then you put a new frost bomb down as he's moving, so that way by the time he gets to the next combat phase, he already has exposure applied. So I'll show you what I mean. So we stack all these grenades, and then notice when we do 500 damage, all of the debuffs that were here got deleted, and we put a new frost bomb down, and then he has 15% exposure, and frost bomb is about to come off a cooldown. So we put a new frost bomb down in the middle of a place he's going to walk over, and now he has 18% exposure. And when we pre-stack all these grenades, they're going to be stronger as well, and we put a new frost bomb down, and now he's at 19% exposure before the first grenade even explodes. So this does, we'll call it 20% more damage than it otherwise would have done. So instead of doing 270 damage, it does 334. We get 64 extra damage out of the fucking thin air. Okay. By correctly cycling when we're placing our frost bombs as we go. And then we're doing the same thing here. Notice he had all those debuffs. They are now gone. Once he does this, he's going to try and grab his little bell off the wall, and we're going to do the same thing again. Put frost bomb down. Go ahead and assign our skill points. He now has 19% exposure. And then I fuck up and don't continue doing this, but what I should have done is put another, if you look at the mini map, here's the entrance to his thing. He's going to walk like this. I should have put another one here-ish. And I don't do that, but we should have. Okay. So we put more stuff down. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing where we're rolling from side to side. I get a sturdy crossbow. Let's talk about this sturdy crossbow I'm about to ID, boys. If you're a speedrunner, fucking look at this shit. Please, please. Please have a reaction to that crossbow right there. I already have 2 rings that both have damage on them. My gloves have double damage on them. I have movement speed boots, and I am 2.5 minutes ahead of PB pace, and then I get that crossbow. So if you're wondering why I PB'd, it's because I had the craziest item RNG that anyone has ever had. I skipped the Cemetery Abyss and immediately got a Regal off of Lachlan to solve it. I already have 2 rings from a Jeweler's Strongbox. I have like 3 different random off-of-the-ground support gems already. So if you're curious, it's because I have an 8 to 15, 9 to 13, 7 to 13. All of those are the highest tier of damage available at that item level. And then also I have crit chance, crit bonus, which are the 3rd and 4th best suffixes that can exist as well. So I have the 3 best prefixes. Well, I have the first, 3rd, and 4th best prefixes at their highest possible tier, and I have the 3rd and 4th best suffixes. This is like a 1 in 1,000 crossbow. This is the craziest sturdy crossbow anyone's ever found in Act 1. No one's found a better crossbow than this in a speedrun that I'm aware of. And then now we're hunting for the Abyss in here. The Abyss in here, we want experience, because we want to hit level 10 as soon as possible to equip that crossbow and clear out our inventory from a bunch of different things. And then we also want the Exalt Orb that is going to come from here. So we're doing, once again, we're just using our grenades and Contagion to clear everything. We hit level 9. Get the Exalted Orb and some padded leggings. Don't use those. And then we take another level 3 gem and we cut and upgrade to fragmentation rounds. Okay, so 22-minute Augum Farmland entry. Not the best Augum Farmland entry that's ever happened. but like certainly good enough. You can get times that are like as low as 20 flat if you have really good mapping and pathing. But this hunting grounds layout was bad. What's going to happen though is over the course of the second half of the act, because we now have the best damage anyone's ever had, I am going to be like super crazy fast. So far our time is as good as any other runner, and we're about to start having like insane second half of act performance because of our insane damage. We enter into Augum Farmland. Augum Farmland, quick summary here. We have this entry tile. It points this way. At some point we're going to get blocked by some wagons. We're going to walk around the wagons, and then we're going to presume that going this direction is correct. If you are an advanced runner, it's more complicated than that. So here we run all the way through, and we see that set of wagons. I will show you what I mean on the map here. Okay, so we run in, and then we see this set of wagons here. And so we know that Una's loot is going to be behind this set of wagons. So we have to run around and grab that. And then the exit to this map can be in any one of several different places after that. But generically speaking, if you're a beginning person, just run the direction that the map is, and then if it doesn't work, like wall hug your way back out either side and you will find it. So, if you want the advanced map reading stuff, there'll be time for that. You can ask me about that later. So here we're just taking experience. We want to hit level 10. We're just taking a random mob as we go. Make some space in our inventory for Una's loot by equipping our chest piece. And then we find the Abyss. We take the Abyss here. The Abyss here is not typically taken in the way that I run this act, but it was free experience that we wanted, and it gives a level 4 skill gem, which we can equip at level 10. So we're good to go. We get blocked off from being able to progress in the direction that we wanted. And so given that we see that this map boundary is strongly enforced here, our guess is now that the exit tile is here. So you can see I'm already starting to run back up here, and I'm going to expect to be forced back up in this direction. And so we do get forced back up in that direction. We run into Vargir the Feral Mutt. We pre-stack all of our grenades. We then hit level 10, so we equip our completely insane crossbow. And we now have the exit in the position that we expected earlier. So now I have like the craziest damage of all time. I'm like gloating to my Twitch chat by mousing over it multiple times. And we are now 24-22 into the next area. So you'll notice, if you look at my timer, we entered 2 minutes ahead of previous PB, and now we're only a minute 15 ahead. That's because of a bad map layout. We read it correctly. It's just one of the longer layouts, and we lost 40 seconds to that, as well as deliberately taking some experience there that cost us about 25 seconds. So we lose 20 seconds to the layout, we lose 25 seconds to the XP taking. We're now 45 seconds slower than we could have optimally been. But that means that we get to equip this crossbow at the beginning of this next zone, which matters a lot, because we are now able to equip things. The other thing that I want to point out here is that we are in a level 13 zone. You can't see it because my Twitch overlay is making it hard for you to see, but the way that experience works in PoE2, to explain things super duper quickly, is you take your character level and you subtract from it the area level, and you're going to get a number, which is your level deficit. In this case, that number for me is -3. The way that this works is that you get a margin of safety of 3 levels plus 1 extra level for every 16 area levels. Okay, so super complicated, but essentially, provided that you are within 3 levels of area level, you're experiencing no penalty in Act 1. In Act 2, approximately speaking, 4 levels of area level. It's character level, not area level, isn't it? Guy that dies, this is the character level, this is the area level. Are you saying that it's different based on every 16 levels of character level? Doesn't really matter at the level of explanation that I'm giving, and I don't remember enough. But essentially, it's 3 levels of margin of safety in Act 1, 4 in Act 2, 5 in Act 3, and 6 in Act 4. So you get 1 extra margin of safety level per act, approximately speaking. You're probably right, but also it doesn't matter for the audience that this video is for, so... Here we make an insane decision, which is, since we have completely insane damage, I make the ridiculous choice to kill Executioner before going and finding Renley's tools. I can't remember if I even decide to not get Renley's tools this run, but we get, like, the fastest kill of Renley that anyone's ever had, and then we go back down here, excuse me, of the Executioner that anyone's ever had, because I have, like, god tier damage, holy shit. And then we're running back down here for the tools. If you're curious how I knew that it was here, complicated. Essentially, the whole map is shaped like this. And we knew that we enter this way and that the Executioner is going to be here. So what we do is we hug the top wall of this. If it's not here, then we look at what this wall is, and the, like, tile type that that wall is made out of is, like, exactly indicates whether it's going to be south of the waypoint or south of the boss arena. So we knew that it would be south of the waypoint and therefore would be here, based on looking at, like, what types of tiles are existing along this edge of the map. Come in here, get Renley's tools, and then now we're going to go talk to Alatis. We didn't do the Abyss in that zone, which we could have done. The reason that we don't do the Abyss in that zone is because it gives us an Artificer's Orb, and we have such insane damage, and we already have access to other Artificer's Orbs, that it doesn't help us. Because we don't need it in order to kill Geonor efficiently, and we are guaranteed to get other Artificer's Orbs from other sources. For example, Renley's Tool Chest drops one, and we get one in Trader's Passage. So our Act 2 crossbow is already going to be taken care of from other sources, and so we don't need the one from that Abyss in order to kill Geonor efficiently, and we're already happy with our level. We're level 11. So we don't need the experience, we don't need the Artificer's Orb, but ordinarily we would take it if we had a different amount of damage or wanted the level more or something like that. Okay, so we go home, talk to Alatis, we get the level 5 skill gem from her, turn in Una's loot. We want a bunch of ID scrolls for a bunch of reasons. We also want an upgraded level 10 flask for both of our flasks. Do our inventory management, check for another ring because we're greedy as hell, and then we don't bother to shop for anything else. We come over here, we see that this is a wall. So when you enter this tile, you see you have this entry tile shape. Here's the checkpoint, here's the waypoint. It's going to be one of these two directions because you're forced to turn. When this is a wall, we now know automatically that if we wall hug in this direction, that we are going to find the manor entry here. So essentially we see this shape that tells us to go this way and then follow whatever wall we can around, and the entry to the manor will be here. We really want to take the Abyss in this zone because we want the experience. We are now in a level 14 zone. We are level 11, so we are at risk if we enter the next area without leveling up of being under-leveled. So we're going to go ahead and continue running. And we're just hugging this wall, using our contagion and everything to take experience as we can. We're only really killing mobs when we're forced to, because none of these are good mobs for us to take experience from. These white mobs don't give it good experience yield. And then we find the Abyss. The Abyss gives a level 5 skill gem for us, which is going to matter a lot in terms of hitting level 14 and getting access to gas grenade and explosive grenade and flash grenade all upgraded to that all at the same time. So we already have one from Alatis, we get another one here, we get another one from Zarka, and then we're good to go on level 5 skill gems. This is super important for our XP yield. We have crazy damage, so this is going to be super quick. And then we wanted a chest piece upgrade. We had a level 1 chainmail with bad modifiers on it. And so now we're going to do this and get a level 11 rogue armor base that has some dex on it. So we'll be able to hold on to that. That's just a base type upgrade. Didn't have good modifiers on it. That dex doesn't do anything for us that we care about anyways. And then you can see here, if I stop mousing over the Twitch thing, you can't see the XP bar, but I did just hit level 12. And we are continuing to see these magic packs. So you'll notice these are white monsters, but there are magic monsters mixed in there as well. We then get an Alk and an Exalt and the uncut skill gem. So the skill gem is guaranteed. The other stuff is great. So we are still on this roll of having like the craziest Act 1 item RNG in history. And then we are going to continue running on through here. And we know at this point where Augum Manor is. It is exactly that map feature that I described earlier. Okay, then we enter into Augum Manor. We see that the tile for entry to Augum Manor points like this. We therefore know that we need to run this way, and that the like little bridge thing is going to point this way. Okay, that is league specific. However, this tile orientation will always indicate that. So if 0.4 contains this tile orientation, it is going to be correct to run this way. We really want the Abyss in here as well because we want to hit level 13. And then we're keeping our chest piece on because now we're quite under-leveled. We're level 12, it's level 15. Okay, so like I said, tile points this way, we therefore point this way, and it comes down here. And then now we know that once we find the chapel here, this would be Candlemas. And so now we know that either here or here, there's going to be a tile that gives us the staircase to the next level. Now we're just broadly working this way, now that we've crossed this little bridge. And we find the stairs immediately, and we're on to floor 2 with the Abyss immediately on entry. This is the craziest Act 1 that anyone's ever had. This is like literally the most ridiculous RNG that's ever happened. But the important thing, we're going to take the Abyss, but then because the previous bridge pointed this way, we know the next bridge has to point the opposite way because we're crisscrossing as we descend into the manor. So when we see this tile orientation, we know that we're going to try and proceed in that way, generally speaking. So after I fight the Abyss, I'm going to try and hook like this. That's my mental plan. And then I'm just using my explosive grenades and my contagion and everything in order to clear this Abyss. It should give me an Orb of Alchemy. It also gives me some boots and a Tense Crossbow. I ID the Tense Crossbow. It's bad. I don't know why I even bothered IDing it. It's a base tier lower than what I have. Then I run into another magic pack. Blue text magic pack has 1 modifier. Hooray. Kill them. And that gets us level 13. So we're now completely happy to go and kill Geonor if we need to at this level. And then the stairs to the next zone are already here. So we have a very short map here as well. Then we enter into the next floor. You see this blocky shape here? That tells us that we need to run the opposite way, because this is going to dead end into Count Geonor's bedroom is right here. And so when you see this tile, what you do is you run the opposite direction and then you start walking up toward the boss arena. No matter where this is, it is always correct to run opposite to it. And then we're just taking little bits of junk experience as we run through here. None of these are magic packs, and we're already happy with our level. We've got completely insane damage. We should be good to go. We cut multi-shot for the next thing. We throw out 1 pair of explosive grenades immediately upon entering, and then we try and kite the 2 mobs together on top of it. So that way this can recover this cooldown charge while we are waiting for Geonor to spawn. Okay, and then we just fragmentation around the last guy. There's an audio cue for when we start pre-stacking our grenades for this Geonor fight. I'm not going to turn on the fight audio. Just know that, like, you know he's going to land here. You fire grenades before he lands there. Okay, I miss the grenade pre-stack, which is really sad. But then I pin him. And first phase is done. I almost die because I miss the dodge there on his little like V ice cone thing. Doesn't matter though, because I have decent damage here. Now, when he turns into this little frost doggo, when his front hand paw things touch the ground, and then when they lift up, that's when you fire your second set of grenades. And so he comes out of that, he's immediately chilled for 15% action speed slow, and then he takes 1500 damage immediately from the first set of grenades, and another 1500 from the second set of grenades. And then you'll see we're doing even bigger amounts of damage than that at this point, and Geonor is dead before he can do like essentially anything. And we have a 33-minute Geonor kill, which is not exceptionally fast, actually. You know, really good players, like Guy That Dies, who's in Twitch chat right now, can get like 33 and 34 times consistently. I'm more typically getting like 34, 35 times, but we're about 2 minutes ahead of the pace that I want. So we're really happy. And then we turn in Renley's tools in order to get our Storm Rune. And then we are on to Act 2. Okay, Act 2, we are level 13 and a half right now. And we want to go and find the Abyss in this zone because we want the Exalt Orb that it gives. And we also want to hit level 14 before fighting Wrathbreaker if we can. So we're going to be taking experience along the way here, just in case we don't get access to the Abyss. And then we're just zone hugging. We get a Lesser Essence of the Body. Lesser Essence of the Body gives between 29 and 39 max life. Given that our total max life right now is 270, 39 max life is a decent chunk. It's 15% more total survivability. It's pretty good for us. So we take that. We find the Abyss immediately. So we're just, again, contagioning. Contagion's doing very, very little for us at this point, even though we have upgraded to that level 3 gem. But it's better than not applying it, and our grenades have long cooldowns at this point. And then we go ahead and take the Exalt, which is the guaranteed reward from that Abyss. We hit level 14. And now we are looking for a very specific map exit tell. We're cutting our gems as we're continuing to move, taking our rare mobs here. Okay, so this is my favorite map tell to teach people. You see this shape right here on the map, where it has a 90-degree angle curve like that? I call that the macaroni. What you'll notice is that there's a version of the macaroni which is nice and uniform in its thickness like this. That's the good macaroni. And then there's another version where it's wide on one side and narrow on the other, like this. This is the bad macaroni. The good macaroni points toward Wrathbreaker. So given that we can see here that it's nice and uniform in width all the way through, that is our exit. Wrathbreaker, and then we're just reassigning our skills as we run. We get rid of Contagion because now our AoE clear tool is Gas Grenade plus Explosive Grenade. And so we no longer need Contagion. Contagion has fallen off for us. We don't have a whole lot of ways to extend its power on tree, essentially at all. So as a consequence, we're just going to go ahead and throw that away because now our AoE clear cycle is much simpler. What we do when we are fighting is we have Gas Grenade, Explosive Grenade, and Flash Grenade. Flash Grenade has the supports on it of Multi-Shot and Pin 1. And then both Gas Grenade and Explosive Grenade have Multi-Shot on them. Gas Grenade has Concentrated Area on it as its second support, and Explosive Grenade has Elemental Armament on it as its second support. We know that we're going to get a level 2 support pretty soon, so we don't want to waste a support gem cutting Elemental Armament 1. So we cut Concentrated Area. Then when we can upgrade to Elemental Armament 2, we take Concentrated Area out and put Elemental Armament 2 in, and hold on to that Concentrated Area gem in our inventory until we get the Lesser Jeweler's Orb, so we can then have Multi-Shot elemental armament, and concentrated area all in our gas grenade, which is our endgame setup. But in the meantime, we just have concentrated area and multi-shot. Come up here and have ourselves a little Wrathbreaker fight. You probably already know how to cheese this, but the cool thing is if you get Wrathbreaker, if you stay up here near the tip, instead of fighting him like down here, he won't run away. We've actually already pinned him. We get a thawing charm out of it, which is great. And then we can go ahead and take a bunch of these things here. We reset at checkpoint and checkpoint back. You can also open a town portal scroll. It doesn't matter. We get some gloves that have fire damage on them, which doesn't matter. And then from this, we get the Earning Passage reward, which is our last level 5 skill gem. So we got one from Alatis, one from the Manor Ramparts Abyss, and one from Zarka. And those upgrade our 3 grenade skills, Flash, Explosive, and Gas, and all of them are level 5 now. And then we unspec that int point earlier, which was letting us use higher level version of Contagion. And we assign that into that 2-handed wheel on the bottom left of the tree. Okay, and then now we're going to sell... Oh, uh-oh. I misclicked. I'm sorry, friends. Okay. Hopefully, okay, cool. So now we sell all of our stuff here, and we're back, and then we find a crossbow. Once again, we are on the craziest run of all time. We immediately find a crossbow that has the highest available tier of lightning damage, which is the best possible prefix mod. Just to give you some idea of how crazy this is, the base damage of the crossbow is 24 damage per shot, and the lightning damage gives us another 20 damage per shot, so this prefix is like literally the craziest possible prefix. You can see in Twitch chat the guy that dies is like, sorry, what the fuck is this RNG? Because I have double damage gloves, 2 ruby rings with lightning damage on them, and the best ever Act 1 crossbow. Dude, this is the literal most insane item RNG that's happened in history. Then I immediately craft on this, and I get critical damage bonus. I get split physical accuracy and 2 to 5 physical damage. So I immediately brick the entire thing. So, like, I then hit literally nothing helpful on this at all, which is very sad. And then I upgrade my flask. And then we do some skill gem management, and we get into Modon Mine. I'm going to blow your mind with how Modon Mine works if you're a new player to speedrunning, competitive league, starting whatever the fuck. The other thing that I did right there that was really quick, since we're doing the full in-depth commentary, I had that lesser essence of the body. I want to put it onto an item slot that I will be using for a long time. Because the life, if I put it onto a chest piece, I'm going to be upgrading my chest piece all the time. My gloves are already rare. One of my rings is already rare. I don't have a belt. So I need to put it on something that I'll hold on to for a long time. And so my only magic item that has an open slot where I'm likely to hold on to the magic item for a long time is that ruby ring, which is why it's on the ruby ring instead of on some other slot. Even though the jewelry gets less benefit from the essence than a chest piece would, it is going to be more persistent use of that essence there as well. So let's talk about how Modon Mine works. Modon Mine, I'm going to completely blow your mind. Modon Mine is a gigantic invisible square. And inside of this gigantic invisible square is a series of smaller squares. So you enter, and then there is a square here, or a rectangle rather. And when you exit, this is going to look like this. And the way that you know that this is not the correct exit when this branches is that this is the long direction of this rectangle, and it always stacks the open rectangles such that when you put them together, it forms a square. Then when you exit over here, it will branch again toward the exit location. And the way that you know that this is an exit is that this one doubles back and fills out the big invisible square. So what's actually happening if you unspooled this is you enter, and then there's a giant rectangle, and you're going to traverse this open rectangle directly, and then there's a hallway, and then another giant open rectangle, which you traverse diagonally, and then the exit, and it's folding up the hallway, open segments such that they fit inside of a square. So when you're in these hallway segments, you know which direction to go by trying to imagine, well, if I were trying to fold up this whole map to fit into a square, which one would be better? So remember, giant invisible square. If I see a long skinny rectangle on one side and I exit here, if I exited like this would make it more rectangular, and this direction would make the total bounding box of the map overall a square. That's extremely abstract. I'm sorry if you can't follow. My mental model for this is extremely simple. You don't need to memorize any part of the layout at all. What I'm saying out loud in the run right now, by the way, in case you're curious, is I am saying, well, I have like literally the craziest crossbow anyone's ever had. So it doesn't really matter if I don't get a good level 16 crossbow, because who cares? Okay, so like I said, you have this hallway, and then you enter into a big square, and we're going to go diagonally into this square. You see there's this map boundary and this map boundary. We do this. We diagonally traverse the square. Okay. Take the Abyss for a little bit of experience. Okay, and then now we're into the next hallway, and we're going to expect, based on that shape, that we're going to want to go this way. Which ends up not being the case, which we recognize because this tile here always points us to the correct direction. So like, caveat to the previous example, but whatever. We have this U-shaped hallway that points us to the correct direction. We're once again going in this direction because we're in a big open rectangle, taking experience whenever we get really large mobs / magic mobs together. And then we should have already known, this is a map reading mistake from me, by the way. You can see that the entry hallway here formed an open rectangle here, and then you can see that this allows us in one direction to curve back such that this map boundary from where the entry was is like blocked off here. It cannot extend this direction, and the most square-ish way for it to go to fill out a giant invisible square is to try and fill this open gap in the map. So clearly the exit should have been here. Me checking this set of hallways is a map reading mistake. And then we immediately, you guys are going to love this, we immediately find another crossbow that has a good prefix, 43% increased elemental damage and 8% attack speed. Still not that great. We check to see if it's any good. We have 2 alks in inventory though, and we immediately slam again 1 to 41 lightning. So if anyone wants to be upset with me, you could be upset. I have 1 to 41 lightning. Guy that dies says no more exalts, but guy that dies. This next guaranteed Abyss is going to give me a level 2 gem. I have more than enough damage to clear these next 2 zones no matter what. And then the Abyss on top of Halani Gates is going to give me an exalt. So like, I'm not that worried. I know that there are other exalts in the route that are going to show up soon enough that scaling my damage with this crossbow is going to be fine. And then I just check how much of a damage drop off it would be to try and throw away the other crossbow, just in case. Then, in this particular map, we have this entry tile. Generically speaking, this is very generic. The exit is just going to be straight 12 o'clock from wherever you enter. So we entered here. We expect the boss to be somewhere there-ish. Again, as an advanced runner, it's more complicated than that. but that's the basic idea. Just go up. Then we're trying actively to find the Abyss in here. We find the Abyss. The Abyss in here gives a level 2 support gem, which we're going to use to upgrade our skills to Multi-Shot 2 and Elemental Armament 2. And then we get another Rare Varnished Crossbow, which we ID. And that one also has 1 to 40 lightning. And in addition to having 1 to 40 lightning, it has 12 to 24 fire, which is the best set of 2 mods that can exist on a crossbow. So I'm just saying, I found 3 crossbows that had 1 to 40 lightning, and this one also has fire on it. So guy that dies, I'm probably hacking. It turns out if you do 1,000 runs, you'll eventually get the God run. And if you want to know how greedy I am, I'm not even satisfied with that crossbow, because I think, well, the other one could have 3 perfect mods, right? So, in any case, like, this crossbow is more than good enough to do anything. We put on our thing here. Now, bear in mind, she would ordinarily be at least a little bit scary, but we have 2 ruby rings on already, and a tiny amount of fire resistance in other slots. So we have, like, essentially capped fire res, and we're completely unafraid of her. We kill her super quickly. She drops a guaranteed... She drops a guaranteed level 6 gem, but look at these other drops. An Iron Rune, a Desert Rune, a Regal Orb, and a rare Topaz Ring. You know. Normal item RNG. We put the Slim Mace in because it does not have an item suffix, and we are looking for the suffix for attack speed. So we're going to end up having an extra augment at some point, and we're going to apply it to that Slim Mace for the purpose of trying to get additional attack speed for our leap slams, like, way down the road. So that's why we swapped to that Slim Mace. It's not that we like the 1 to 6 lightning damage that's on it, it's that it does not already have a suffix, and that means that the chance to potentially hit attack speed is, like, what the value is. Okay, so then we quickly ID items by control clicking on the hooded one. And then we sell our stuff. We buy some ID scrolls, we upgrade to a level 16 life flask, and then we go into Mastodon Badlands. And we upgrade to Multi-Shot 2 on Gas Grenade. Excuse me, not Mastodon Badlands. What am I talking about? We go to Halani Gates and then eventually Trader's Passage. Okay. Now note, I am literally the greediest person on planet Earth. And so, even though I have a crossbow that has 12 to 22 fire and 2 to 42 lightning, which are the best possible mods to have, I am also holding on to this other crossbow that has 1 to 41 lightning in the hopes that when I exalt it, it will eventually hit, like, 85% increased physical damage or something. Okay, and then we take a quick bathroom break in the run, and we're back. When we get back from the bathroom break, we want to find the Abyss in here. The reason that we care about the Abyss in here so much is because it gives an Artificer's Orb, and then we also care about hitting level 18 as soon as possible. When we hit level 18, we're able to equip level 6 skill gems, and that's a big damage upgrade. We want to do that before we get into Halani Gates. So we're looking for the Abyss. Lo and behold, the Abyss is immediately upon entry, the best possible location. And so it also, the Abyss note, has multiple magic packs on top of it. So this is, like, once again, like, this run has, like, insane RNG. And then we find a Tense Crossbow, Lamau. We don't even pick it up because we don't need it. Kill this rare. Rare drops an amethyst ring. We ID the amethyst ring. It's no good mods on it. Okay, Trader's Passage. Extremely, extremely simple entry. The entry points this way. We assume that that's correct. There's more complicated stuff to do than that, but we're not going to talk about it. Then we find this spiral staircase, which is a point of interest called the Six Sisters. The fact that this occurs early and in line with this entry hallway here, so this and this are in line with one another, roughly, is a tell for where the exit's going to be. It doesn't really matter. Then we find the Decree of Imprisonment. Now, the Decree of Imprisonment, which is this thing, this obelisk here, is always next to where Balbala the Traitor is. Can you see how the wall here has these yellow papers on it? These? That means that Balbala is guaranteed to be in this particular direction, which means that this other open hallway up this direction is either going to be an exit or an immediate dead end. So we're going to check and see if it's a dead end. Or at least we should, if I'm not goofing off. I realize, oh wait, there's yellow papers on the wall. Yellow paper, yellow paper, yellow paper. And so I should double back and check the other side. And on the other side, it dead ends. Okay. So what that tells me is that, like, I hold on to hope for a little bit that it's not going to be completely dead end. There's a magic pack here that I kill. And so it dead ends immediately. And so now I know that the Balbala side, which is this side, has to contain the exit in some way. However, you'll notice this wall forms like this, so I know that I have to, like, try and wall hug that wall and get back going this direction. Okay. Then I hit level 18. We find Balbala. We don't fight her because we're not planning on ascending. There's a magic pack there. We clear them off. And once again, we're just trying to take things here. Now, at this point, we're pretty happy with our XP because we're level 18 kind of early in Trader's Passage. So we're doing totally fine. And then we look around for Helani Gates, and we get out into Helani Gates. We're now 5 minutes ahead of my previous PB and 1 minute ahead of my best pace ever. So we're clearly cooking. Helani Gates, extremely simple map. It goes zig, zag, zig, zag, zig, zag, so you're just going to follow the hallways. Okay, so that ring is junk. We organize our inventory a little bit. There's a magic pack here. We found another amethyst ring. We immediately put some low-level currency on it, transmute and augment, get nothing good. Okay, so we are looking for the Abyss in this zone. Now, the tricky problem that we have here, you'll notice we followed the hallway here, and then now we're on this checkpoint. Asala is not with us. I'm going to reset at checkpoint, which snaps Asala to us. But what that could mean is that the Abyss is like some place way down the rest of the map. When you reset at checkpoint, the Abyss can move. And around 15 or 25% of the map is behind us at this point. So what could happen when we checkpoint reset is that the Abyss could end up behind us, and therefore we don't get to kill that Abyss, don't get that experience, don't get that Exalted Orb. And so that would be bad, but it's 15 or 20% risk, and you can probably guess how this goes. We reset. Asala is now with us. We make the forward progress with her. She opens the next gate here. We keep that ring because it's valuable to sell for gold. And then we just continue progressing all the way through. And we find the Abyss immediately in line in front of us, so never punished. Never punished. Okay, so now we're level 19. Once again, magic packs on top of the Abyss, which is the best possible experience that we can get. Magic packs are great for experience. They're better than either common or rare mobs. We open the Abyssal Armory, we get the Exalted Orb. I ID my chest piece. It's a decent chest piece. It's level 20 chest piece, 9 max life, 8 strength are low rolls of both of those values, but they're pretty good. Just has a lot of modifiers, therefore it's probably an upgrade for us. And then you'll notice we also have an Exalted Orb. And I don't think we hold on to that Exalted Orb. We immediately... Okay, we go into Geonor the Risen King. You'll notice we get the first hit shock on him, and then he's also pinned. That's because as we entered, we threw out a set of flash grenades, and that flash grenade are going to pin him. Pin lowers his evasion to 0, and then also prevents him from moving for 3 to 5 seconds. Excuse me, 3.5 seconds. The duration of the fuse on explosive grenade is 4 seconds at this point. And so as a consequence, we know that we can put one set of explosive grenades to one side of him. He will be unpinned. And then in that first attack animation after being unpinned, he will swing into us. So what we do is we stack the explosive grenades just barely to one side of him, and then try and kite him to swing at us by stepping into those grenades. Okay, which he does. So he immediately takes a giant chunk of damage. And then now we're just trying to kite him back and forth over one particular location. He takes 18,000 damage and immediately dies. Okay. And then we just pile into the corner here. We're level 19. We're super happy with ourselves. We exalt our crossbow. I can't remember what I hit here. And we hit 1.48% critical strike chance, which is not good. I mean, it's functionally 3% more damage. So then we eventually commit all of our currency here. We put in our Desert Rune and our Storm Rune. We commit all of our Blacksmith's Whetstones, and this is the crossbow that we're committed to now. So then we sell the other one. And we buy a shield for our Leap Slime setup much, much later. We buy a belt because we haven't found one naturally, and it's getting kind of late in the run for us to not be able to use charms. We cut our Leap Slam early. The reason that we cut Leap Slam early is super simple and obvious. It's just that it prevents us from forgetting to cut it. It reduces the cognitive load. Okay, Mastodon Badlands, super duper simple generic basis. We enter. It's a big wide open square. We try and go up. The reason that we try and go up is because the overworld map has bone pits to the north of Mastodon Badlands. And so we like generically believe the overworld map. The overworld map correlations are bugged, but they work about 70% of the time. So we just believe it. So we're just wall hugging and trying to go north. Nothing super exciting here. If we were super support gem hungry, we would care about finding the free support gem here, but we don't care at all. Because we're not support gem hungry. We have so much damage that using lower tier supports does not in any way do harm to us. We get a free Artificer's Orb from the overworld. That's going to be useful to us much later down the line. And then we're just killing packs as we go. And we find Bone Pits. And note, Bone Pits was north facing. It just wasn't along a northern facing wall, but the actual tile was north facing. So the DGR did not lie to us. Okay, now we're into Bone Pits. Bone Pits, super duper simple map. You see how there's this narrow funnel that we're forced through, right? So we're forced to go straight north. That tells us that we should go straight north. Extremely simple map. Okay, and then we are happy with our experience, so we choose not to do too much here, and we just take the experience that's in our way. We do not need Exalted Orbs super duper badly. We find a magic pack. And then we're just trying to get farther north. We take these magic packs as they come. And then we search for the boss. We find the boss almost immediately. We have the craziest damage of all time. And so we kill Iktab the Death Lord before he even finishes first attack cycle. Ekbab the Ancient Steed dies quickly as well. And we get a level 16 helm. Level 16 helm has a bunch of good modifiers. 29 max life, 6 cold res. That's pretty good. The reason that we wanted the helm that we're already wearing is because the helm that we're already wearing has int, and that allowed us to equip higher level contagion. We no longer care about that, so this helm is an upgrade for us. We control click on him in order to upgrade everything. We need to ID everything. Then we're looking for gloves. We find some gloves with 8 to 11 fire. We buy those. We get a little bit of cold res on them. We double check what is on our crossbow because we have to remember a bunch of things. And then now we're into Keth. Elemental Armament 2 is an upgrade for our gas grenade. Okay. Then now we're into Keth. Keth, we enter here. there is a cutout here with the waypoint, so we're going to try to hug this wall as we search for Cabal of the Snake Queen. But first things first, we find the Abyss. The Abyss here gives a Gem Cutter's Prism. Gem Cutter's Prisms on grenade skills give cooldown recovery rate. The reason that we want that so badly here is because it allows us to spam our explosive grenades or our gas grenades quicker than we otherwise would be able to. We end up getting caught into the middle of things, and then you'll notice right now we're in a, I believe, level 22 zone, and things stop being applicable for us pretty soon with this Frost Bomb, and so Frost Bomb stops being useful, and we're going to discard it pretty quickly. We reach the end of the map, we get stunned. Now the important thing here is you'll see the map, this is a wall, and then we know that the exit at this point is here, but we had to checkpoint reset because we got knocked down. But we also know that, like, in this horizontal middle band of the map is where the boss is going to be. So as a consequence, when we checkpoint reset to here, we choose to sort of like swoop back down this way instead of going through the way that we already went. And that's because this gives us a greater chance to run into Cabal of the Snake Queen, which we immediately do. We pre-stack our grenades. We have great damage. She dies very quickly. And then we get our level 7 skill gem, which we can use to upgrade our grenade skills. Since we only had one level 6 skill gem earlier, we upgraded explosive grenade. And so gas grenade is still level 5. So we're going to use this level 7. When we hit level 22 and can equip level 7 skill gems, we're going to use that to transition to a higher amount of damage on gas grenade. Okay, and then now we've taken a whole bunch of points on the grenade wheel. That the points that we've taken give grenade damage and grenade cooldown recovery rate. So our grenades are more spammable now. So you'll notice I'm doing a lot more of like sprint, throw grenades, dodge roll, sprint, throw grenades, dodge roll as like a cycle now. Whereas previously I was sprinting for longer sections. Now that my grenades have shorter cooldowns, I can take much more of that like white mob junk XP. And so now that I'm have shorter cooldowns, it's easier for me to like continue upping my level. And then I throw away my previous double damage gloves from Act 1 because I've gotten the upgrade to the higher level base gloves that have the 8 to 11 fire on them, and we are into Lost City. Lost City, also super simple map. You'll notice we enter on a tile that points this way. We're going to be in a map that has like 2 wide open rectangular zones. One of them is going to have a bridge like this that connects on one side to the next wide open rectangular zone, and then there's going to be a tile shaped like this that connects to the exit. So what we're going to do is we're going to check this corner and this corner to try and find the bridge, and then once we do that, we're going to just run until we find somewhere along this wall will be this wing-shaped tile that will point toward the exit. In the meantime, we want to find the Abyss in here. The Abyss in here gives us a alchemist orb, which we really want. So we're just searching for that bridge. We found the bridge immediately. That's what this tile right here is, the bridge, and it's going to connect in this flying V shape here. And then we're just going to get as deep into the map as we possibly can, hoping to find this map boundary. And then we're going to be forced along this map boundary to try and find the exit to this particular map. And then you'll notice we're just throwing out a lot of grenades, trying to kill everything that walks into our path. We get yet another topaz ring. We get evasion and 2 all attributes, so this thing is hot garbage now. And then we have found the exit to the map. Okay, now we're into like a weird, complicated zone. Guys, if we get decent amulet plus 30 spirit, what's the best spirit gem we can use? Probably Herald of Ash? Probably. I can't think of a single spirit skill that's like actually gonna do anything to improve your campaign clear speed. So like, my thought is like Herald of Ash gives you a little bit of better area clear, which like can help. The reason that Herald of Ash is like not that useful is because we stopped taking experience kind of early. If you were like league starting, you might care. If you're league starting and trying to be super aggressive, you might want to take one of the ones that gives you some type of like defensive utility, like scavenged plating or something like that. But like, to be honest, there's not a spirit skill that's really going to accelerate your leveling all that much. If you got like random 30 spirit off of the ground, like I would probably I would probably spend the 5 seconds to cut Herald of Ash, but I think it does like almost nothing for you. Okay, to go back to the map reading portion of this, you see there's this entry hallway shape here, which forms this very standardized width thing here, and then you'll notice this wall continues to fall within the like bound formed by this entry tile. So this entry tile, this sort of hammerhead shaped thing, is always the same width, and since we haven't seen anything break past the invisible boundary that that tile establishes, we know that this entry thing here is going to break in this or this direction. So now we're going to like cut back across and check like this side. So to show you what I mean, this is always the shape of the entry to Buried Shrines. It is always this shape. Then there is always a rectangular area of equal length and equal width to that first area. Okay? So this is always this shape. Then there's another shape like this, and then it can open in any one of these 3 directions. Okay? So what you do is you surf the edge of this wall, and if it continues to fall straight, then what you're going to do is cut across and check the other side first. Okay. So at this point, I have seen enough of that, and I cut back across. I take rare pack that falls directly in front of me, and then you'll notice that over to this side, we're now able to extend into the rest of the map. Then there's this longer bridge here, and it will always have magic packs on it, and that will connect to the next area of the map. Okay, so we upgrade our grenade skill with our skill gem, and then now we're just trying to get as far deep into the map as we can here. This sarcophagus gives us a level 2 skill gem. We just try and throw some junk grenades into the middle of that area, and now we're searching for the exit. We really, really, really want to find the abyss in the zone. We find it pretty quickly. What's up, Taxing Dead? Welcome in. We're doing commentary on my PB run because someone wanted to know what PB running is like. Or like someone wanted to like get a full commentary run of people's thoughts. Like, what are you thinking as you're doing the PB? As you're doing the speed run? Here we find the abyss. The abyss, super important. Gives a lesser jeweler's orb. So, pretty good. We also would like to be level 23 before entering the next zone, because that allows us to upgrade our flask to the next tier of flask. Okay, so then we get yet another set of currency. We get a regal orb, bunch of train speeds and augments, and we get that lesser jeweler's orb. Yes, lesser jeweler's orb, really, really good for us. Lets us upgrade to concentrated area plus elemental armament plus multi-shot on our gas grenade. So now we have our final damage set up on gas grenade. And we kill Azarian really quickly because we have insane damage because we have this glass cannon tree with no defense on it. And then we check those boots. Those boots are kind of useless. We pick up the Essence of Water. We control click to identify all of our items. We sell everything on our inventory that we don't need to Shambrin. We buy a bunch of stuff. We get another ring that has a ruby ring with damage on it. This ruby ring has 5 to 10 cold on it now. And we are trying to see if we want to get rid of either one of these other things. We then roll +8 to strength on it. So this is going to be a damage upgrade, but a utility downgrade. Our right-hand side equipped ruby ring has max life and 1 to 5 lightning damage on it. And our left side ring has 1 to 5 lightning damage, plus 23 max life, plus 10 lightning resist, plus 8 cold resist. So the left-hand side one is the better one of the two existing rings, because it has life plus resists, and the other one just has life, and they have the same damage. So we unequip the right-hand side one, throw on that cold damage one, and now we're 8 minutes ahead of our previous PB and 2 minutes 30 ahead of best pace ever. And then you guys are going to experience a gigantic tragedy as I cover the screen with my reference notes. So this is the thing that I do while speedrunning. I have my stream manager off to my right side monitor, and my main monitor has my gameplay. So when I'm in Valley of Titans, I need to look at these reference notes, and the simplest thing to do is to put them on my stream so you guys can't see what's happening. But what you can tell is that we are in a down left facing area, which means we are in one of these 3 layouts. However, you'll notice these two have diamonds on them, which indicate that the entry hallway is long. And so we know already that we are in this layout. If you want these reference notes, they are in the Campaign Codex Discord. They're already public. You can already have them. So this is going to be where the waypoint is, and then we're going to find these 3 seals in this position. Top left, top right, both external to the map, and then bottom right, internal to the map. And so we put these reference notes up. And unfortunately, that means that as we run the zone, you can't see shit. What's the star again? It indicates that the entry corridor is a long corridor instead of a short corridor. So we cleared the Abyss in here. The Abyss in here can potentially drop a bunch of different interesting uniques. It's a guaranteed unique is the reward from this, and we get the chest piece that's completely useless to us. We ID it. It gives thorns. We don't care. And then we're going to come up here and grab our other checkpoint, and we're good to go. Okay, so we're still level 22. We haven't upgraded yet. I keep on double checking my item affixes just to try and keep everything memorized. Okay, so now we are in a map that works like this. There's this entry corridor, and then it connects to a big rectangular area. We don't know in what direction the rectangle will be long. What we do is we just wall hug here, and if we're allowed to continue this way, this is the long direction. And if we are forced to turn, then this is the long direction. What we're looking for to indicate as a confirmation that we have found the long direction is a tile with a waypoint, excuse me, with a checkpoint on it. And when you find that corridor that has a checkpoint on it, it always points along the long direction. So to go back and summarize, we are in a map where we have an entry corridor. We then have a rectangle which is longer in one direction than the other. And when it's longer in one direction than the other, the boss is somewhere along the opposite side wall. So we're just trying to figure out whether we're in a map that looks like this blue thing I just drew, or like this. We don't know which one it is yet. So we're just wall hugging our way through. Then we find a corridor with a checkpoint on it, and that means that this is guaranteed to be the quote-unquote long direction. So the boss is going to be over here somewhere along that map boundary. So now we're just continuing along the direction pointed by that corridor, taking experience as we go, throwing out grenades, dodge rolling our way through. We upgrade with our support gem that we found. And at this point, we found the boss, and we're level 23. But we're not very happy about being level 23. You guys can't see my experience bar, but I'm low level 23. I'm like level 23 and a quarter. And I would have liked to be level 24. So I'm not happy about this at all. But I have insane damage. So we can like kill Zalmarath completely ridiculously quickly. he doesn't even have time to spawn his little spinning top guys before we kill him. So then now we control click, we do inventory management. At this point, we're just looking for a pair of boots that are better. We found a pair of boots that are better, but we didn't buy them. So we go here, we sound the horn. There is a pair of boots in the shop. While we're waiting for the loading zone to enter Deshar, we go back and we buy this pair of boots. Because they have 20 lightning resistance on them. And our other boots are much lower level. So these are a level 20 pair of base boots. We don't have the int to equip them, but that's fine. We can solve that pretty quickly. Note that they do not have a suffix, excuse me, they do not have a prefix that we care about, notably movement speed. So it would be like insane if yet again I won on a completely random total dice roll, but I'm buying these boots because I don't have like good lightning res, which is going to matter in Act 4. And 20 lightning res is a very chunky amount of lightning res to get from a pair of boots. So I buy these, and then I immediately augment them and immediately win 10% movement speed on them, which has a 7% chance of happening. I was just going to keep them in my inventory to be a pair of boots that I put on during one boss super later. I just keep, this run just has the RNG. So extremely simple understanding of Deshar. We come out of the caravan this way. That means that we are going to have like one wide area here, and then it's going to connect in one of these two edges to another wide open area. And the final exit is going to be like way, way, way down there. Okay. So we enter here, we immediately wall hug. We might be blocked and forced to walk this way for a while, but we will eventually break out and be able to go this way. And then we're just going to keep going this way. Extremely simple Deshar understanding. Again, advanced runners, it's more complicated than that. Okay, and then we're not at all happy with our experience level. So we are deliberately going out of our way to kill like a bunch of extra stuff. We really, really want this Abyss. We're currently level 23. We want to leave this zone at a much higher level than that. We get an amulet off of the ground, which is good because we didn't have anything in our inventory there. So now we're level 24 from the Abyss. There are more magic packs around. We find an iron rune. So that amber amulet doesn't do much for us. Gives us a bunch of strength, which counts as max life. So I guess that's good. And then we're deliberately taking more XP. We're not running in these longer segments. We have an unusually short map, by the way. This is the shortest map generation that can happen. So now we're backtracking, trying to find that lost letter, taking every single little bit of map experience that we can. We are now level 24 3/4. We would have liked to be around level 25, but because we have such a short map and we found such good magic packs, we decide, you know, 24 3/4 isn't that bad. Okay, now we're in Path of Morning. Note, we have Shambrin's letter. We don't turn it in yet. Path of Morning, when it points this way, the exit is almost certainly going to be down, across, up, generally speaking. And more specifically than that, it's going to be this, down, 1, 2, 3, down, 1, up, 1, down, 1, up, 1, 2, 3, exit. Most of the time. Again, that's one of several possible different map generations, but like, just assume that you want to go along this shape, which always makes me think of a gold pan, because I'm from California and like gold panning history is a thing here. So this sort of down 45-degree, long, shallow, back up, this like map shape I think of as being a gold pan. Because that's what I was taught as a kid. So I go down, I go across 3, I then am forced to go diagonally down again. I choose to go up, which is a mistake actually. I shouldn't do that, but it doesn't matter because I'm never punished on this run for anything at all ever. And so now we're just searching for the exit. I am trying really, really desperately to hit level 25 before I enter this next zone. The reason that level 25 matters so much before we enter this next zone is that we are able to accumulate, roughly speaking, 1 3/4 levels of experience between Dreadnot and Dreadnot Vanguard. Okay? Meaning, if we want to be level 28 at Geonor, which we do, we need to be level 26 1/4 when we enter the Dreadnot. So, we want to accumulate enough experience before Spires of Deshar that when we exit Spires of Deshar, we can be level 26 1/4. It's hard to generate more than a level 1/4 in Spires of Deshar, which means that you really want to be level 25 entering Spires of Deshar. So we need to generate a 1/4 level more than we want to, and we know that, and we're not happy about it. So our XP management, which is skill-based, I'm doing a bad job at, and our item RNG and our layout RNG is phenomenal. So I'm just getting lucky. I'm not playing well. So we get into Spires of Deshar, and we're on completely ridiculous pace. Okay, so now we're level 25, and we're like really desperately trying to kill all these white packs, which are not good XP yield for the effort that we're spending on them. But we want to kill as many things as we possibly can just to try and generate more experience. At this point, we're level 25 and 20%. We're 25 1/4. We're 25 1/3. At this point, we're 25 1/2. We're just trying to work our way far to the right side in order to go find the boss arena. We're 25 3/4. Find some trimmed greaves. So we're just desperately taking experience here. Find a magic pack, and we're level 26. So our XP problem has been solved because we got good magic pack density. Again, in this run, I am never punished for anything at all, ever. 44 max life on the helm, pretty good. Okay, so then the reason that we really wanted to be level 28 when we get to Geonor is because right now at level 26 we're going to get this. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 points here. So we get 2 points from Shanburn's Letter, plus another 2 points from hitting level 27 and then 28. And that lets us get this notable node, which is repeating explosives, which says grenades have a 15% chance to activate twice, which is a functional 15% more damage multiplier. That's going to save us time on Geonor, as well as in subsequent areas. So hitting that breakpoint means that our Geonor fight is going to be much faster. Because Geonor in phase 1 has an immunity phase where he like summons the big sandstorm and then all the little corpse things fall off of him and come and explode on top of you, and you can't progress the fight when that happens, having the 15% more damage gives you a chance to save around 25%, around 25 to 30 seconds on the Geonor fight, because it's possible you do enough pre-stacked damage on him that he can't enter that immunity phase and instead proceeds directly to the second half of the fight where he cuts the cart in half and then goes down to his little sandpit arena. So as a consequence, getting to level 28 gives you a probabilistic chance, a much better probabilistic chance to save like a big chunk of time. In other words, you can like get off the bus earlier. Now you'll notice, if you look at my timer in the top left of the screen, when I entered Spires of Deshar, I was 11 minutes and 42 seconds ahead of my previous PB. And now we haven't even finished killing Togul, and we're already only 12 minutes ahead. So you'll notice that XP taking that we had to do is going to lose around a full minute here of killing all those extra mobs instead of beeline sprinting all the way to the end. Okay, so we killed Togul. We have a level 8 gem. We cut it to upgrade our kill gem here. We then move to the Dreadnot, and then ordinarily the Dreadnot has this animation where you are on the little cart with Asala, and then it rides up next to the Dreadnot, and then you hop across, right? What you can skip that animation and that waiting for 10 or 15 seconds if you just don't enter. So what we do instead is we move to the Dreadnot, and then we turn in Shambrin's letter and do all of our shopping and item rejiggering then, which wastes a couple of seconds. But then when we enter Dreadnot, that animation doesn't play, and that means that we can overlap that 15 seconds of waiting with other productive stuff, like turning in Shambrin's letter. Okay. So we sell a bunch of stuff, we check for item upgrades, we check for flask upgrades. There is no level 23 flask for us to upgrade to. And then now we enter Dreadnot. Okay. And then Dreadnot, pretty simple. We're just taking XP along the way. When I said that you can generate 1 3/4 levels on this, we're now level 26 flat, so we need to generate a little bit more experience than we're typically able to. So as a consequence, we're like really willing to double back here, and I have a little bit of a slower run through than I might typically do, because I'm killing all these white mobs that give bad XP yield. This is me being punished for not taking time earlier to stay closer to the desired area level curve. Okay, we get an Essence of Ice. This Essence of Ice is actually totally useless to us. We're just doing it to kill the monster. And then now we are 11:21 ahead of PB again, and 6 minutes ahead of my best pace ever. Nearly all of that 6 minutes is created by me having completely insane item RNG and map layout RNG. So we hit level 27. We're 27 plus 10% right now. Pick up some boots. They don't have movement speed or a big chunky resistance, so they're garbage compared to the ones that we already have. Okay. This is a guaranteed rare. He drops a Resolve Rune. Resolve Rune not that useful for us. Gives us Dex, but that isn't very useful. We're now 27:45. We really, really, really want to kill everything that we possibly can, because we're getting close to the front of the cart. We're now 27:55. And so now we are 2780. So remember, we entered this cart at flat level 26, and now we're 2780. I said that typically you're able to generate 1 3/4 levels in the cart, and we are almost exactly at that point. We're at 180. And so it's really, really hard to generate more experience than that. And it would probably take me a full minute and a half to go back and get that extra 20% experience, because I would need to reset a checkpoint and then go find all the mobs and whatever. And so even if I did it exceptionally quickly, I would lose 40 seconds to go and force level 28. And level 28 just gives me a chance to save 25 seconds on the boss fight. So it's not worth it for me to double back at this point. I'll solve the problem later down the line. All that I want to do is at this point just kill Dramonra at level 27 and then figure out the experience in other XP-rich zones in the future. Okay, so now I'm just doing some inventory management, trying to clear up a big open part of my inventory, because if he drops me, for example, a two-handed weapon or a chest piece, I need to be able to have like one big open square here instead of having these support gems and things like randomly blocking the middle. So I'm just taking the time during his monologue to try and form a big open block here. And then I pre-stack my grenades on him. And he does his sandstorm thing because I don't have good damage and because I spent too much time doing inventory management here. And again, you'll notice, if you look at my timer up here, when I entered Dreadnot Vanguard, I was 11:22 ahead of my previous run. And now the timer is counting down, and I'm already only 11:09 ahead at the moment where I paused. So we're going to lose a minute and a half on this, and that's because I was taking so much extra experience instead of being able to beeline through. And that's, again, me being punished for the previous XP management. So then one thing that we're doing on the boss fight here that I haven't talked about yet is we're trying to throw out explosive grenades first, and that's because we want to build up a bunch of flammability. The reason that we want to build up flammability and that we want to cast explosive grenades first are related. Explosive grenade has a longer cooldown, so if we spam it first, it gives it a longer time to come back off of cooldown, as opposed to if we cast gas grenade and then explosive grenade. The second thing is that if we reach 100% flammability, he gets ignited, and our gas grenades get instantly consumed, which allows us to do more damage. It may sound like, well, if they're all going to get consumed anyways, then why would I even care about my gas grenades being instantly consumed versus consumed after a couple of seconds? And the answer is, we have multi-shot on our gas grenade, and that means that we're firing 3 gas grenades at a time. There's a limit to the number of active poison clouds that you can have at a time, which is 6 poison clouds at a time. Which means if you fired 3 sets of gas grenades, one of them ends up doing no damage. So having them instantly consumed means that you're getting 100% effectiveness of your gas grenades. So if I fired gas grenade, gas grenade, gas grenade, it sounds like I've hit him with 9, but I've actually only hit him with 6. Whereas if I fire explosive grenade, gas grenade, gas grenade, the explosive grenades detonate, he's ignited, and if I fire more, I can just spam gas grenade and not worry about exceeding that limit of 6 active poison clouds at a time. At the same time, I'm also getting the benefit of the explosive grenades detonating earlier because they have a longer fuse and a longer cooldown reduction, a longer cooldown timer than the gas grenades do. So the skill cycling here is super important to understand that you need to fire the explosive grenades first. And that's for a variety of different reasons. Okay, and then we're just trying to get him done here. So you can see we're firing those gas grenades. He's fully ignited. And we get him down at 1:20:55 is when we do the final blow. But the timing convention is that you call the timer when Asala cuts his head off, which is 1:21:06. To give you some idea of how quick of a time that is, I am aware of people getting times under 1:20. I believe I have seen a time as low as 1:18:45, so around 2 minutes, 20 seconds faster than this. But to give you some idea, like, very good runners that I'm aware of are getting times in the like 1:24 to 1:26 range typically as their like practice times, and the overall race lead for race 3 of this cycle was a 1:22. So just to give you like, just as a ballpark, anything in the low 120s is like an elite time, and this is as good as anyone gets essentially. I'm on a crazy run. How much faster do I think the run would have been if I had followed the XP curve better? Around 4 minutes. Around 4 minutes faster. So I think that if I had done better XP management, I would have I would not have needed to slow down the way that I did in the final 3 zones of the act, in Spires of Deshar and the cart, and that would have saved me probably around 2 minutes just in those zones. And then you're going to see later on when I get to Chimerell Wetlands, I have to spend a bunch of extra time there as well, and that's probably about another 2 minutes. So between the end of Act 2 and the first half of Act 3, I probably have 4 or 5 minutes of time lost to bad XP management. And that's just because I'm 1 level behind, so I'm constantly fighting uphill. If you just take 1 level of XP earlier, then, you know, we're good to go. So I'm now doing a bunch of XP management. I'm reminding myself what all these items do and which ones I want to sell. I then get my flask upgrade. And we go to Sandsoap Marsh, and my exit time for Act 1, if that's the timing convention that you prefer, is 1:22:12. So... okay, extremely simple understanding of Marsh. Sandsoap Marsh is my favorite zone in the game aesthetically. I enjoy this transitional area. So we have this zone. It starts out being about this wide, and then you're going to get all the way through, and you're going to see that it gets wider in the end. The important thing is that there are two things that you care about. One is going to be a spawn for Root Dredge. Root Dredge is a super unique monster, and Root Dredge gives you a level 9 skill gem, which you really want. The other thing that exists is that there's like a hanging tree, and underneath it there's a corpse that has a ring on it. Given that ring modifiers at this area level end up having higher level resistances and damage than is available in the previous couple of zones, there's a chance to get like a really, really good ring here that has like 14 to 22 fire damage and 25% cold resist on it or something crazy like that. So if you run into that, that's great. It's not worth doubling back for unless you're like really, really, really hungry for experience. Okay, and then we are fighting magic packs here. And we hit level 28. Our hope is to be like level 29.5-ish on the exit here. Then we find the Abyss here. Abyss, again, a good experience. This gives a level 3 support gem. Level 3 support gem, super important for us for a couple of reasons. One is that we really want to get potent exposure for our oil grenades that we will be using later on. But also we want to transition away from using pin on our flash grenades. We want to be able to transition from pin to stun. Stun 1 is a level 2 support gem, and we haven't been able to transition to it. So getting a guaranteed support gem, very, very good. But the fact that it's a tier 3 in some runs would mean that we use it for potent exposure, which is a level 3 support. And in this particular run, it ends up being the case that we want to cut stun for. So now we're just taking experience here. We are not happy with our experience, so we're trying to take as much as we possibly can. I am level 28.25, which is really, really, really bad. Like really, 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 really bad at this point. So I'm not at all happy. And I have to make a really, really bad decision here, which is that I go and find the exit to the map. And then I go, well, I would really like to kill Root Dredge for that level 9. And so I need to double back to get experience. I then deliberately, instead of just checkpointing back to the beginning, I also click respawn at checkpoint. When you click respawn at checkpoint, it respawns all of the mobs in the entire map. So the reason that I do that is because now any mob that I've previously killed is alive again, and I can farm it for experience again. So if Root Dredge ends up being close to the path that I've already traversed, I can beeline to the exit, but still be certain of running through mobs in areas that would have otherwise been killed. So what I'm doing is when I'm doubling back, I am both doubling back for experience and to kill Root Dredge, and I am also doubling back, like, potentially through areas where I've already gone, so I respawn at checkpoint to respawn the mobs. So that's why I take that, like, 8 seconds of time loss of the loading screen to respawn at checkpoint. Okay, so we get that level 9 from Root Dredge. That shield is no upgrade to us. We find some more magic packs. Get a Chaos Orb. Okay, and then we still want experience here. We're now level 28 and like 99%. So we come over here, we get the Lesser Jeweler's Orb. That Lesser Jeweler's Orb is going to allow us to put concentrated area on our explosive grenades. But note, we were 11 minutes ahead of previous run. Excuse me, we were as much as 12 minutes ahead of previous run when we entered Spires of Deshar, and now we're only 8:30 ahead, so we've lost 3.5 minutes over the last 4 zones, and that's entirely because of needing to double back for experience and do a whole bunch of forcing stuff there. So now we're doing XP management. We're waiting for this guy to walk to his old place. So we start him walking, and then we run and go buy our level 30 flasks while he's walking, and then when he gets to his place, we go over there and shop. Okay, so now we go to Oswald. He has 3 bombard crossbows in inventory. We check and see what they are. This one has lightning damage on it, 1 to 19 lightning, which is bad. This one has 3 to 37 lightning, which is mediocre, but like acceptable. And we immediately regal it, and we hit 12 to 20 fire. So note, the crossbow that we are already wearing has the same modifiers as the crossbow that we just picked up, which is sad. Because we can roll dramatically higher amounts of lightning damage. We can roll as high as 4 to 79 lightning damage on this crossbow. And we can roll as high as 27 to 42 fire damage on this crossbow. So we've gotten prefixes that are like half as good as the ceiling of what's possible. Right? So this is not good. It's good enough to be usable. We then buy another crossbow. It has 8 decks on it. We then roll the highest possible tier of fire damage. So the ceiling of that tier is 27 to 42, but this is like a mid-range roll of that tier of fire damage. So now we're happy with this, and then we immediately regal it, and we get a suffix. So far it's got potential, but there's nothing guaranteed on it yet. So we go out to Jungle Ruins, and we now need some exalts. Provincialist, Crimson Cast. So where was an XP mistake, Deshar? No, our XP mistake was probably earlier than that. So we were very happy with our experience when we exited Trader's Passage and Halani Gates. We were level 19.5, which is just exactly what we want. We then took functionally no experience in Mastodon Badlands and Bone Pits, and then spent the rest of the time Kath, Lost City, Buried Shrines, Titan Valley, Titan Grotto, and Deshar trying to catch up. So the XP mistake was almost certainly in Mastodon Badlands and Bone Pits. Like in that combination of 2 zones, we didn't take an Abyss, we didn't go out of our way to fight magic packs, and we easily could have taken the Abyss in Bone Pits, which would have given us an Exalt, and that would have given us around 3/4 of a level and completely solved the problem. So what we should have done in Bone Pits was we were really, really happy with our experience, and we made a risky decision to take less experience than typical, and then we got punished for it, right? So remember, super early in the run, I skipped the Abyss in Cemetery and didn't get punished for it because I found a Regal almost immediately. And this is a case where I did get punished. I skipped, like, forcing the Abyss in Bone Pits. And then now I don't have an Exalt when I need one, and I don't have 3/4 of a level when I need that experience, and so the mistake there was, like, taking on a risk at that point in the run. But I was playing in high-risk mode because I really wanted an insane PB, which I got, so... That's the only risk I took this run that I got punished for. I was playing in a very, very aggressive and risky way. Okay, so then now I get a wild level 9 skill gem, and we find Monkey. I die to Monkey. That is one of only 3 deaths in this whole run. Just get slammed by Monkey because skill issue. Okay, and then I get my points here. That steel plate is bad. So now I'm looking for the Abyss here, as well as trying to find the exit. I know where the exit likely is. So you can see, like, Monkey Arena is here. And then you can see that this is an edge of the map. That tells me that the map almost certainly has the exit, like, here. But you can also tell that the map is, like, vaguely wide open down here, right? So this is a bunch of area where I can go farm experience and then checkpoint back here before going for the exit. And I want to find the Abyss, so like all of this potentially open map area, both here and here, is place where I can go farm for experience and look for the Abyss. So I really want the Abyss. I also really want these magic packs. Magic packs give better XP yield than anything else. Now, I make another insane XP decision, which is I look at my level and I look at the area level and I go, well, if I move on to the next zone, I can take the Abyss in this next zone for sure. And reading the next zone is ambiguous because the layout is bugged, like the layout generation is bugged. So as a consequence, I'm like not as certain about the like where to go in the next map. And so I go, well, if I take XP now, I have XP now. If I move on to the next zone, I suffer a penalty in the amount of experience I gain because the delta between my level and the area level is higher. So I get a detriment to the amount of experience that I gain. However, I'm pretty likely to get lost in the next zone, which means I'm going to be running around anyways. So instead of running around like a headless chicken in this zone where I know where to go, I may as well deliberately run around like a headless chicken in a zone where I don't know where to go, because then at least I'm being productive, right? So that was the thought. So now I start assigning all my weapon swap points. So I'm now running around here. You'll notice, okay, I find a canal wall here, and that this entry zone reaches canal wall here, and then this is going to swoop down, and I'm going to end up bottlenecked into the checkpoint and waypoint. Then you can tell that this is bugged, and the reason that you can tell that this is bugged is, remember, the exit tile from the previous zone pointed this direction. And I don't know about you, but when I walk this direction through a doorway, I do not expect to then walk this direction through the doorway. Right? So this is a discontinuous map entry from the previous map exit. They should point the same direction. Right? If I walk through a door, I don't magically end up turning. So this is an example of a layout bug. This is not supposed to point this direction. So this is why I say it's pretty likely that I'm going to be lost in the next zone. It's because the map layout generation is bugged. So then I find an Exalt. And whoop, I find an Exalt on the ground from a random monster. And I pick it up. And I look at this crossbow that has these like completely mid modifiers on it. And I exalt that. And I hit accuracy rating, which is a prefix. Flat accuracy rating is a prefix, which means that this crossbow is now dog shit. Okay? Because it has two completely mediocre prefixes, and it needed to hit an awesome prefix. Okay? What I mean by that, just to give you a summary, this prefix is half as good as the ceiling of a prefix. This prefix is half as good as the ceiling of a prefix. And this prefix is completely dog shit. So I've gotten half a point, and 0 points. So we will call this a 1-point crossbow. You need a crossbow to have 2 points in order for it to be good. And a great crossbow would have 6 points, right? Because it would have the 3 best prefixes and the 3 best suffixes. Okay? So, like, this is now, like, complete garbage, unsalvageable, totally useless crossbow. Throw it on the ground, spit on it. It's unusable. If this is the best crossbow that I find this entire run, this run will not PB. So what I should do at this point is throw it away, because the other crossbow already has 1 point and still has open prefixes, so it has the potential to get more points. But instead, I'm silly and I don't do that, because there's simply too many variables to keep track of. Okay. So now, an important thing to know is that I'm guaranteed to get another Exalted Orb from the Abyss in the zone that I'm in. So I know if I find the Abyss in this zone and I kill it, I will get another Exalt, and I can immediately slam the crossbow that still has potential. Okay, so then I get my level. I'm now level 30. I get Chimerell Wetlands, and I go into Chimerell Wetlands. The logic for entering Chimerell Wetlands without forcing the Abyss in the zone that I'm already in is the same as the previous logic. However, the Abyss in Chimerell Wetlands gives a level 9 skill gem, and I already have 3 of those. Then Chimera gives a 4th one. So I don't need to kill the Abyss in Chimerell Wetlands. I should stay in the previous zone. This is a mistake in this run. What I need is an Exalt and experience. I get both of those things from the Abyss in the zone that I'm in. I do not need a level 9 skill gem. The Abyss in this next zone is useless to me, and I should have stayed in this previous zone and been fine. However, you'll notice I've climbed back up to an 11-minute lead. And that's because from an 8-minute lead. So I've saved 3 minutes by just continuing to push forward and hoping that the problem solves itself, right? It's always possible that I kill Chimera and he drops like 2 exalts and a ticket to that thing that I love and a box of chocolate-covered strawberries and a really nice new necktie. Like, it's possible. It's not likely, but it's possible that he drops the woman of my dreams and a brand new car. But hoping for that is stupid at this point in the run. I'm so far ahead of my previous PB, and there is a deterministic solution to my problem in front of me, which is just to take the Abyss in Infested Barrens, because that Abyss gives me an Exalt, and I need an Exalt, and I can just stay there and do that, and I don't, which is stupid of me. Now, the reason that I'm willing to do that is based on another benchmark, which is that I know that if I kill the Abyss in Chimerell Wetlands, I'll get a full level out of it. Because Chimerell Wetlands is large, I'll get like a 1/3 of a level just from random junk mobs and 3/4 of a level from the Abyss, and that'll hit me 31, which will let me cut all of the skill gems in my inventory to level 9 skills, which is my last skill gem level. So then I'll have Oil Grenade, and I'll have Gas Explosive and Flash Grenade all available at level 9. And so I'm thinking, oh, I know that I'll be on my level target again if I killed that Abyss. But I would have been on my level target again if I'd killed the Abyss that gives me the Exalt, which is the better Abyss to take. So this is a mistake. So I switched to my level 30 flasks, and I assign my skill points. Now, Chimerell Wetlands is an interesting map. There are different base layout variations that exist for every map called DGRs. If you want to look at like the repository of DGRs, you can just use !DGR in my Twitch chat. I don't remember what DGR stands for. Dungeon Generation Randomizer or something like that. In any case, Chimerell Wetlands has the largest number of base layouts. To give you some idea of how many different base layouts exist for different zones, Red Veil has 8. Trader's Passage has 4. Mastodon Badlands has 12. So a memorizable amount. A large amount, because there are like 50 or 60 zones in campaign. But you can learn 1 zone a day. Valley of Titans has 12. Drowned City has, I think it's 8. But you can learn 1 zone a day, and over the course of a month or 2, you can become a top-level speedrunner by just memorizing 1 zone a day. Chimerell Wetlands has 40. You're not going to memorize 40, because there's not enough information in the map layout generation to, like, allow you to disambiguate between that many different variations. So, Chimerell Wetlands is one of the last zones that we expect anyone to ever solve. Okay, so I'm just taking a bunch of junk experience. I'm at level 30 and a quarter right now. Every single time that I'm killing one of these mobs, I'm getting around 5% of a level. Full plate drops on the ground. Full plate is the level 33 pure armor base, so it's the best possible pure armor base. I am like super unhappy that I found the Chimera in the earliest possible position. That's what that checkpoint is. But then I find the Abyss, and the Abyss is in a good position relative to the Chimera, so now I'm happy again. And then there's a pair of yellow gloves on the ground. Those are above an item level breakpoint to potentially give me something really good. Like, they could have big damage on them or something. But I don't have any ID scrolls, so I can't do anything about that. I reset a checkpoint to go fight Chimera. For Chimerell Wetlands, what's your question here? For Chimerell Wetlands, looks like you always run left for boss all the time. In the current league layout, Chimerell Wetlands... okay, in the current league, it is always the case that, like, if you look at my mini-map, you see how the Chimerell tile, it always enters here, and then Jaquani's Mechanarium is here. So it's always like a left-facing tile. It just can't spawn along, like, how do I say this? Chimerell Wetlands is like a big open map, right? The map, the boss tile, has to spawn in a position where the boss tile can face left. Right? So, like, it has to be here in the current league. So because I know what league I'm running in, I know that Chimerell Wetlands boss is always to the left half of the map. Now, in the previous league, in 0.2, in Solo Self-Found Dawn of the Hunt, it was always, if you think about big open map, it was always here at the very top. So you would run like this, because you couldn't get tricked by the Temple of Chaos or the Noxious Bloom or anything like that, because those would also spawn left-facing, and you knew that Chimerell Wetlands boss was always at the top of the map in SSF Dawn of the Hunt. In SSF Rise of the Abyssal, it's just always left-facing, and you don't know in which case, in which position it is along the, like, left boundary of the map. It's somewhere along this boundary, so you just run along, like, checking everywhere along the left boundary. But that's league specific. So, like, that isn't something that you should take as, like, a general lesson until you know what league you're in. Generically speaking, if I were playing, like, in 0.4, when I enter this zone for the first time, I won't know, like, what directionality key the Chimerell Wetlands boss arena has. But what I do know is that so far, in 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3, it's always been left-facing. So it's possible that they haven't finished generating the map, like, points that allow it to be right-facing or upward-facing or downward-facing. So it's possible that, like, because of the fixed camera position, you need to, like, reposition the 3D models in order to form the arena orientations, and it's possible that they haven't finished doing that, which is why, for example, in 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3, like, when you enter the Ziggurat encampment, Drowned City is always down and right. That is not, like, there are map generations that exist where it's not down and right, but they can't happen in the current league. And what we know so far, what's been tipped to us by the level designers who talk to us in the Speedrun Discord, is that we know that those things are prevented from happening for some reason that GGG has decided on, but that it will not always be the case. What reason GGG has to do that, I don't know, but it is deliberately prevented from happening. And it will not always be the case. At some point, whatever is preventing them from making the Drowned City spawn to the other side of Ziggurat Encampment will at some point be disabled in future leagues. I suspect that in 0.4, their priority as far as, like, map generation stuff is going to be on making the new maps for Act 5 and 6 and new endgame maps. And then they'll come back and, like, fix all these small minor problems with, like, the diversity of available tile sets for campaign zones, right? It's possible. So what I expect when I enter this zone for the first time in 0.4, I will expect Chimera to fall along the left wall, but I don't know that that's the case like permanently and forever. And so it's league specific, and I'm not going to tell people to do that. But good point out, I guess. Chimera is here. We fight Chimera. Chimera, very typical boss fight. I hope you don't need my tips on Chimera. Chimera, very easy boss fight. I am now out of mana because I'm a big goof. So we lose time here because I mismanaged my mana flask by just spam pressing it all the time because I'm dumb. And then we're like desperately hoping that we can like stun Chimera or something. I don't. Chimera 1% HP, skill issue. This is me losing 25 seconds to a damage cycle because of bad flask management, skill issue on my part. It's all bad. Okay. Then we enter Jaquani's Mechanarium. Jaquani's Mechanarium, very simple zone. You can't hear it, but one thing that you will always notice that speedrunners do, anyone who listens to music on their stream, so for example, I listen to music while I speedrun, and Gormus does as well. Arco doesn't. Guy That Dies doesn't. Whole New Society doesn't. At least not that you can hear on their streams anyway. Anyone who listens to other stuff will mute their other stuff. And it's because we all use loot filters that clang when quest items drop. And that clang is directional around where the quest item is. So I can locate, like, off screen, I can hear where the next zone is. It doesn't ting, it clangs. It's a different sound. But yeah, my loot filter makes a noise when the soul cores spawn. Exactly. So I'm walking around and I hear it clang and then I beeline for it. So at this point, I'm still not level 31, which really fucking sucks and it's stupid. And I'm like mad about it. And then like this map read, extremely simple. You just try and go the direction that the entry hallway forces. Again, this is league specific. And like, for some reason, it can only generate this way in all the leagues that have happened so far, but whatever. So I'm taking this Abyss. I'm now level 31 and a quarter. At this point, I would really like to be level 32 and a quarter, because I like to hit level 33 before Motlin Waterways if I can. But that doesn't happen for me on this particular run. Now, one thing I want to point out here, this is probably an obvious point for most of you guys, but just in case it isn't. If you look at the map here, you see how there's this continuous hallway here? Right? With these right angles in it, and then there are all these rooms that are spawning off to the side of it. That hallway with these points here where it's overgrown with branches, you can leap slam over these overgrown bits. Right? But this hallway itself will always go up, right angle, up, right angle, up, right angle, up, and so on. And then the exit will always follow that hallway. So now that I've gotten the soul core that I want, I know that if I follow that hallway, I will be able to find the exit. And I know, in fact, that it's pretty likely to be here. But you'll notice what I do is I don't leap slam over this, even though I could, because I have leap slam equipped. Leap slam's right here. Instead, I go up, and the way that I know when I hit this map boundary to turn this way is because I've pre-indexed looking at this hallway. So what I'm doing as I think about this is I go, oh, the hallway is already left pointing. The exit cannot be here. Blackjaw the Remnant can be there, for example, but I know that the exit has to be here-ish somewhere. So this goes this, potentially here, and then potentially here. But I know that if I leap slam over this, I'll miss out on any mobs that are potentially here, and I want the experience. So I choose to run through the mob having part of the map, but still in the direction toward the potential exit. And then I find the exit. And then I don't have the experience, excuse me, I don't have the dexterity to equip level 9 gems for some reason. And so I just like throw a junk point in dex because I know that I'm going to be able to respec out of it later. just so I can equip all my level 9 stuff. Okay, so I cut oil grenade, and then I cut flash grenade, and I cut gas grenade, and I cut explosive grenade, and all of them are good. Take my level 3 support, and I cut potent exposure on it. And now I'm in Jaquani's Mechanarium. Jaquani's Mechanarium, I would hope, sure as hell, you guys are comfortable in Jaquani's Mechanarium, but just to make the point, Jaquani's Mechanarium, you always have entry landing, boop, boss arena. And then it is always the case that if you look at the boss arena and you go out 2.5 boss arena widths, I don't know that that's the correct measurement, but like approximately this far, and then up, this is going to be one generator, and then on the same thing on the other side, there's going to be another generator. So I just know when I enter landing, boss arena, boop, 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 generator. And if it were the other way, where it was entry, boss arena here, it would be boop, 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 boop. Okay. So hopefully you guys are already comfortable in Jaquani's Mechanarium. It's an extremely fixed layout. It's not hard. But I'm still under-leveled. I really want experience. I would ordinarily run and get this checkpoint, and then since I didn't find anything on the way, I would checkpoint back to the beginning and find the other one. But I did hear a clang, so you'll notice I start beelining towards some weird location because I hear a clang, and then I think I get tricked by the loot filter noise, and I found it now. And I reorganize my inventory, and then I put this in the generator. We're good to go. And then we do the same thing on the other side. So I'm level 31.5. I want to be at a bare minimum level 32. I am not level 32. It's going to be really, really sad. Okay. Magic pack here. Kill the magic pack. Okay. So let's talk about like what we could do here. So I have, by the way, I have another exalt. We go to the good crossbow. We try and get a good hit. We get 20% reduced attribute requirements, which is bad. That's a completely dead suffix that does nothing for us. The good suffix is like way better than every other suffix that could possibly exist, is ranks to skill levels. We don't get that. The only other suffixes that are good at all are attack speed and mana leech. Life leech doesn't matter. Mana leech does. We reset at checkpoint because you see these red lines on the floor? When you put the soul core into the generator, it takes time for the soul core power to reach the boss arena. And if you reset at checkpoint, it happens during the checkpoint reset. So you can save yourself like 8 seconds by slotting in your second soul core, reset at checkpoint, and then checkpoint hop. And then when you get to the boss arena, the boss will already be powered up and you can summon him immediately instead of needing to wait a couple seconds. So now you throw out your oil grenade. I throw out oil grenade on the ground. And now, remember how against Geonor I said you want to ignite Geonor, so that way you can instantly consume your gas grenades. Against future bosses, ones like him where he has a spawn animation, you throw out your oil grenade, you throw an explosive grenade that detonates before he's alive, and then you throw out a bunch of oil grenades to keep the persistence of the oil ground up, and it will stay ignited, and then that will apply exposure to him as well as instantly consuming your gas grenades. So now there's a lake of fire under him, and he has exposure and shock and ignite all applied to him, so we're super happy. And now he does his lightning Dorito attack, and you are able to kill him. You're throwing out oil grenades every couple seconds just to prevent him from killing you, and you get an easy kill. Okay, now he drops a bunch of cool stuff. We need the large soul core. Arcanist's Etcher, completely useless. Skill gem, completely useless, because it's going to be too high of a level for us to equip. Artificer's Orb, good. Transmutes, we don't care at this point. Shielded Helm, potentially good. And so we throw away something, and we no longer have enough wisdom scrolls to identify things, so we just have this extremely overfull inventory. So we are level 31 and 60%. Okay? So we need to farm a level and 40%. That's not going to be too hard to do. So ordinarily, if you were playing as fast as possible, and you're level 33 at this point, Motlin Waterways ends up being extremely quick. because you can jump over everything, and you have a bunch of increased armor and stun threshold on your weapon swap. So when you're leap slamming, you have 80% increased armor, and I think it's like 80% increased stun threshold as well. So you're not able to be stunned, and you have way more armor. With your good, nice flask, you can do whatever you want, and you can not fight anything. Instead, we have to take the other approach, which is dumb and slow and clunky, and wastes 2.5 minutes. This is where you get Giga punished for being underleveled in Motlin Waterways, instead of getting to do the beautiful skill expression of kiting the mobs and being underleveled and showing off that you have this weapon swap tech that lets you move super efficiently. Instead, you just get owned. So you're going to see me lose like a lot of time here, where I enter Motlin Waterways, and okay, so you can see I am now 10:44 ahead of my previous PB, and you can see that my possible time save in this zone is 48 seconds. So in principle, we could be as much as 11:53 ahead, excuse me, 11:36 ahead, exiting this zone. Okay, so we're comparing to being 11:36 ahead. Now we have to take a fuckload of experience in here because we're a level and a half behind what we want, which is really bad. And so if I skip all the way through, nothing exciting happens in here. I don't die. I run. It's a linear zone. Blah blah blah. Nothing cool happens. I promise. We're skipping nothing interesting. And entering the next zone, instead of being 11:36 ahead, we buy another crossbow. Crossbow has good lightning damage. It has second best possible physical damage, so this has a 1.5. We then throw away the bad crossbow. We keep the okay crossbow. We do our respec. And now, instead of being 11:36 ahead, we are 9:16 ahead. Okay? So we lost 2 minutes and 20 seconds in Motlin Waterways, and we aren't even level 33 yet. So this is where you get, like, giga punished. Everywhere else in Act 3, I've been, like, hoping that the problem will solve itself, hoping that the problem will solve itself, hoping that the problem will solve itself, and instead, real bad. Okay, now, Motlin Waterways, excuse me, Drowned City has like a beautiful zone read that I just can't help myself but to explain. This is like totally irrelevant to League Start people, but this is my favorite zone solution. It's one of the newest zone solutions that I've most recently learned. So you have to suffer my explanation. I am sorry, League Start people who just want League Start information. You enter... okay, I'm just going to draw the map. The map looks like this. The map is a rectangle. You enter here, and there is a blocker tile. And then there's like a canal here, and another canal here. Okay. So what you're going to do is, from this blocker tile to this canal is a distance that we will call A. And then there's like a little arena here that crosses this canal. And the distance from this to the center of this arena is a distance we will call B. And then the distance from the entry to this canal here is a distance that we will call C. I am going to be extremely vague about this to save you guys some time. But the basic idea is, if you know how many units long A, B, and C are, you can completely decide where the exit will be between locations 1, 2, and 3. And that's all you need to know. But it's super exciting. I love this zone solution. It's extremely clever. A guy that dies is a genius. We get blocked off. So we double back. Bear in mind, I am now currently level 32 3/4. So I need a quarter of a level in here. We fight this Abyss. We're now 15% away from the level that we want to be. We're now 10% away from the level that we want to be. We are now 8% away from the level that we want to be. We're now 5% away from the level that we want to be. We get a desert rune. Desert Rune, good to go. I then look at what I'm doing when I do this. So I respawn at checkpoint, because I know that if I run through that boss arena, I will be killing a magic pack, because a magic pack spawns in that boss arena. What that ends up meaning for me is that I can get the level that I want by going and doing that. So I do that first. Then I respawn at checkpoint, which de-aggroes the mob, and then I click on the checkpoint and drag the map over, and that lets me eyeball. I already know that this distance is 6 units, and that this distance is 9 units, and now I need to eyeball this distance, which is 14 units, and that therefore tells me to go this way. Okay, so what I'm doing when I click on this checkpoint is I know that I can compare the position of this and this checkpoint, and if they are approximately horizontally in line, then it's this way. But that's only true because this is 6 and this is 9. Like, this is an extremely specific map read thing. But what I'm doing when I look at the map here is I'm eyeballing whether I should go this way or this way. That's all. So now I know that I need to go left. So I switch to crossbow, a better crossbow, and I put my runes in, I throw away the other crossbow, and I'm good to go, and we're in Apex of Filth. So I still don't have really good, I still don't have like a perfect crossbow or anything. It only has 2 prefixes. One is really good, it's lightning damage, and the other one's kind of good, which is flat physical damage. And it's not a particularly good roll of flat fizz. It's the 2nd tier, and it's a mid-roll of the 2nd tier. But it has open prefix and open suffix, and so if I get exalts the rest of the way, I will be able to slam exalts on this. Okay, now we have a really weird zone, which is hard to explain. So we have this entry staircase, and that entry staircase always connects to a square tile like this, which is blocked on one side. Okay, the exit to this square tile is here. It could also be here or here, but because it's here, I'm inclined to believe that the exit is this way. If it were here, I would be inclined to believe that the exit is this way. But the exit, I mean the boss. Okay, so what I do is I run, and then I see this canal formation right here, and that gives me an inclination that the next like part of the map is facing this direction. So when I jump across this canal, I then get bottlenecked here. Okay. And that tells me that the map orientation is in fact this way. So to explain what I mean by this, if you think about the Agorot, okay, so when you go to Utsal in the past and then you climb into the Agorot, the Apex of Filth is the equivalent of the Agorot, but in the present day, right? So what's happening here is I now know that the Black Chambers is in this way, in the same way that in the Agorot, when you go past the pedestal while the guy's going, Atziri, 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 and then there's that bottleneck there after that. That is, this tile is the equivalent of that bottleneck and points toward the exit to the map. Okay. So now I know where I am, and I go and check here. And so I'm walking over to the edge of the map. And then I get all the way down to the edge of the map. Now I see this formation with this hammerhead thing here. And notice that this part and this part on opposite sides of the hallway are of equal width. So this cannot be the boss. I don't need to check. It can't be the boss. But what I do know is because the map boundary is here, that if I work my way back down and across, there will be another tile, another T-shaped tile like this, over here somewhere. And this one will have the boss. It has to be in one of those 2 locations. So now I go back and I work my way across, and I'm trying to hug this map boundary. So I go back and I go like this, because there's this map boundary, and the boss is going to be along the map boundary on the other side. Okay, so I go across. There's a checkpoint there. And then here is what I mean by the other T-shaped tile. So there's this, and then this one is wider. Right? This one was equal width, and this one big fat, skinny narrow, and this has the boss in it. So now I've found the boss. That's how I solve this zone. There is a way to know exactly where the boss is. I don't know how to do that, so I just sometimes lose some time here. We pre-stack these oil grenades. You'll notice she only has maybe 60% stagger buildup, but I have flash grenade available, so I'm going to try and stun her before she can get off of this. Okay. And then now she's stuck standing on top of my lake of fire. Now, the reason that she's stunned here, instead of not being stunned here, is because I chose the crossbow that had lower elemental damage, but had physical damage. And only physical damage contributes to stun buildup. So the people who tell you that the perfect crossbow has increased elemental damage, fire, and lightning are forgetting that stunning makes boss fights more consistent. So they're wrong. Because if I don't get that stun there and she moves off of my oil grenades, I then need to sacrifice 8 to 12 seconds to set up my oil grenades, ignite my oil grenades, and then do all that. And then that whole time, she's moving around, she's stunning, she's exploding stuff under my feet. Risk. It's more consistent to have a little bit of physical damage. Okay. So then I take my chest piece off. We check for a Lazuli ring. It's not all that good. Then we checkpoint back to Drowned City, not to the Ziggurat encampment. And that's because the Ziggurat encampment, you spawn on the high ground and you have to walk down that long staircase to get to Alva. If you go to Drowned City, the waypoint is right next to the entry back to Ziggurat encampment, and that spits you out right next to Alva. So this saves like 12 to 15 seconds or something to do it this way. So you go to Drowned City, and then now you go to Alva. Okay, and then you'll notice my potential time save in that previous zone was 28 seconds. We're going to lose a couple seconds here, so I'm losing 35 seconds compared to a perfect run. That's mostly because of the fact that I lost the 50-50 gamble on the exact location of the Queen of Filth. So. Okay. I'm not even going to bother explaining first floor of this place. It's totally random. It's a triangle. The exit is in one of the corners, so you have to guess. It is at least theoretically solvable, but we don't know how because there isn't enough like point of interest information to tell you stuff. So you'd have to be a complete psycho to figure out a solution to this zone. People have tried. No one has succeeded. I get owned. 3 out of 3. L. Sad. I just lose. So. Okay. Then, second floor is interesting, and I will teach you how to read second floor. Okay. So on the second floor, you'll notice there's a wall here, and there's a circle here, and it has a block here. So what actually ends up happening is you're in this triangle. This is too big of a triangle. Maybe that's a better triangle. And it'll have a fissure that doesn't connect, that goes like this through the middle, and then one that connects all the way from the middle to the wall. If you don't have Leap Slam, the map is trying to force you to like walk here and then walk around and then exit, right? But if you do have Leap Slam and you know that this little feature here always connects, you could just go do this and then hop over and then go through. But I lose the 50-50, and so instead of going Leap Slam, exit, I just decide that it's faster for me to just hug my way around and go through. I know what corner it's in because of that. And then there's the exit. Okay. Fun fact for you here. So Ketzuli has extremely low base HP and no additional stun threshold modifier that prevents you from stunning him. So that's cool. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-stack grenades on the little place where he summons. So I'm going to ignite my little lake of oil, and then I'm going to set up all this stuff and try and do a bunch of physical damage to him in an effort to stun him before he can do anything. If you were playing some other build, like Perfect Strike Warrior or something, you would need to do this a different way, where you need to like pre-time your swings for stuff. So this depends on a bunch of variables. But I ignite my little lake of oil, and then he spawns on top of it. And then notice he's stunned almost immediately. So I've only done maybe 35 or 40% of his total HP, but now he's going to be stunned, and he's still on top of my lake of oil, and I can continue dumping grenades on top of him. And so before he's even unstunned, he's done nothing. Because I pre-stacked the grenades correctly and I timed when my gas and explosive grenades would ignite on top of him, he came out, he did no attack animations, he didn't move, and he's dead. So this wasn't a boss fight. This was like, I walked into a room and pressed a bunch of buttons, the boss spawned and was dead before the boss could do anything. This is the power of practicing the boss fights. The shield that I just picked up had a bunch of max life and stun threshold on it, which is going to matter later on. So we go and do that. I then go to salvage bench. I salvage some whetstones. I pray that I get better stuff. I buy a bunch of ID scrolls. I then clear out junk from my inventory. I throw a rune into my chest piece that gives me some cold resistance, just because I have the extra incenses and stuff, the extra artificer's orbs. Okay. Then we go into Utsal. Utsal has an exact solution. Like, people know the exact solution. I don't use it yet, so I will tell you what exactly my solution is. I think that there's only 2 people who know the full solution to Utsal, and I don't think any of them actually like need to use it. But in any case, Utsal is the same thing as Drowned City, where you enter here, and then there's a blocker, and then you want to go this way, and then you want to go this way, and then you want to exit out, right? So what I'm actually doing when I run through this zone is I enter, you have the little thing where you're forced to walk, and then I always just do this until I cross whatever little canal it lets me cross, at which point there is a road that you are forced onto, and then I just follow the road until you get to Viper. And then we'll talk about what you do after Viper, post-Viper. Okay. So there's a road, I follow the road, I'm across a little canal. This is very much like Drowned City, because this is Drowned City. Now I'm on a road, and I just follow the road. Now, important point, I've been leap slamming, but some of my grenade-based bonuses, including a grenade skills have 1 additional cooldown use, is on my primary weapon swap. If I enter the arena, I will not be able to weapon swap until the dialogue is over. So I will only have 3 initial cooldown uses of all of my grenades instead of 4. Or 2 in the case of flash grenades. But for gas and explosive grenades, I'll have 3 instead of 4. So what I do is when I run here, before I hit the checkpoint, I force a weapon swap manually. So you can see this is 3, and then I weapon swap, and then it starts cooldown generation on the other ones. And now when I enter here, I have 4 cooldown uses available, and I'm no longer able to weapon swap as soon as the 2 ladies start having their conversation. So I press weapon swap before I enter the arena. That's the main point. Okay, and then I'm standing in this specific position. I'm actually looking at this spot on the ground, and that's because the attack animation that Viper Napawatsi chooses to use against you, and this is true of a variety of bosses, is predicated on your distance relative to her. So whether she chooses to like lunge or use a ranged attack or do a melee attack or whatever is based on your exact position. And I know what the set of possible attacks is for this position. It's hard for me to verbalize because I understand this fight visually. Like a different way of understanding it's hard for me to put into words. But I know, like, spatially how to respond to the 2 different attacks that can come out here. So once again, we're going to try and immediately cast oil and then explosive grenade to put things under her feet, and then we're going to try and stun her. Notice that because we're in dialogue before this fight, unlike with Ketzuli, I can't pre-stack everything, and so there's a chance that she goes into her, immunity phase before anything else. So I'm just trying to get a stun off immediately. Now, the problem is I stun her too early. Right? So I'm trying really, really hard to do a bunch of damage to her, but I stunned her too early, so she has a third of her HP left, and she goes into her aerial phase where she imbues their spears with poison. That spear with poison stuff, she's totally immune during that. During the like Rain of Comets one, where she goes aerial, you can actually hit her. So this is like totally immune, the other one isn't. So, the way that you dodge roll under these things is pretty simple. You have iframes while you roll back and forth. So you actually deliberately dodge roll, like only the tip of the spear can damage you. So what you do is like when the spear comes out, you're standing here. As the spear comes, you roll under it and then roll back and it can't hit you. So if I show you that again, I'm not being hit by the spears, but as a safety measure, I'm dodge rolling under it anyways. And then here, I know I won't be hit by spears. And then here, see how this spear passes directly over my character model? I'm deliberately dodge rolling into the spear such that the tip of the spear passes me while I'm in the invulnerability frames of my dodge roll. And then I roll back and then I do it again. And then I pay attention to what her last attack animation is here. Like in what direction she imbues all the spears, so that way when the full collapse comes through, I know what direction it's coming from. So I pay special attention there, and then I dodge roll under, and we go back into damaging her, and then she dies pretty quickly. I wait for the loot here, because I really want this support gem in this particular case. So we pick up all the stuff there. Now, the funny thing here is this is the equivalent of that like triangle shaped arena in Drowned City. That is the like place where the like little mutt dogs chase you. And so you might think, oh, well, you need to know the like position for the canal and the position for the whatever in order to know whether you need to go like left or right here, right? The same way that you do for Drowned City. No, the answer is always go right. If right isn't correct, it will dead end immediately and you'll know. So you don't need to put that much effort into memorizing because you just go this way. And then if it dead ends, you turn around. And if it doesn't dead end, you just follow the road and you're correct. So like very little effort needed. We follow the road and we found the exit. Okay, so now we're in the Agorot. And we put concentrated area in our explosive grenade. Okay, now, this layout works exactly like the previous area, Apex of Filth, where you enter and there's this little donut-shaped tile and then you have to exit and blah, blah, blah. So it's the same thing. Pretty simple stuff. Very fixed layout. You're probably already comfortable with it, even if you're not a speedrunner, I would bet, because you played through the campaign a bunch of times. Okay, and then we get checkpointed, and then from here out, it's a completely deterministic layout. One small note is that this mob is chasing me, and I don't like that. So there's like this canal, and I could walk across this bridge, so my character could do this. Instead, I don't do that. I deliberately walk to this corner and then leap slam over. And the reason for that is that the mob is just going to follow me into this corner, and when I leap slam, they won't be able to follow me across the canal. So I do that instead of walking across the bridge, and now there's all these guys who are stuck up here because they're idiots, and I'm smarter than them. They're really fucking stupid, and I'm incredibly smart and handsome. All right. And then Black Chambers, pretty simple layout read. The important thing to understand is just that when you do the layout read, you need to go out and left, and then up, and then when you find the checkpoint, then you go back into the center line, and then like this. It's just very simple. Very simple layout. You probably already know. I won't over-explain it. We can just skip all the way through. Okay, and then now Doriani. Important thing about Doriani, our friend Doriani, is that he won't go to phase 2 until his little laser spin pedestal thing has gone into the ground. So if you don't kill him before he summons that laser pedestal, you lose time. So you'll notice I pre-stack everything, and then he only takes a very small amount of stun build up immediately, and he tends to like to do his like propulsion jetpack move to get off of your initial thing, and that's bad. So I try really, really hard to stun him, and then he laser jetpack off immediately. As soon as he does that, I start pre-firing grenades. But he opens his Ben 10 Omnitrix and types in his stuff for the nuclear launch codes for his James Bond GoldenEye watch, and now the laser pedestal is there, and that's bad. So now we get him across the half HP mark, and he's phased. He no longer takes any damage. And now I just run around dodging the laser pedestals and doing nothing. He puts the soul core crystals in the ground. I immediately activate all of them by running over top of them, so that way they can't do anything. His hemo crystals come in. Shout out to my boy the Mecha Crab. We're doing the same Lake of Fire strat as all the other boss fights here. And then now I'm just trying to stun him because I don't want him to do any of his fancy attacks. And we kill him at 201.49. So to give you some idea, last race cycle of O.3, the race winner at the end of Act 2 was Screws with a 122 something Geonor kill. In this run, I had a 201.49 Geonor kill. And then the race winner at the end of Act 3 was Whole New Society, and if memory serves, it was a 157. So he had like a 202.30, I had a 201.49, so I was 40 seconds ahead of what would have been the O.3 race win. And then I lose about 4 minutes here over the course of this act. Most of that is to XP management stuff, so like that 2.5 minutes in Motley Waterways is a good example, but some of it is also to like me losing gambles and stuff on like the way to go in the Temple of the Sun, right? So I've lost, we'll call it 5 minutes in this act, and the bulk of that is skill issue, like for sure. But some of it is like just layout RNG stuff, a small fraction of it. Okay, and then now we're into Act 4. We will skip all the cutscene stuff and we go into Act 4. You should not do Act 4 in the order that I do it. I'm stupid. You should do Mermaid first if you're a mercenary player. We'll talk about why when we get to the Mermaid. But I always do it in the order Shrike Island, then Abandoned Prison, then Mermaid, which is exactly reversed of what you should do. So don't do it that order. We take the ship. We go to Shrike Island. Shrike Island map read, not particularly interesting. It's a spiral. You should know how to do it. It's a spiral. So we keep our chest piece on. We switch to our weapon swap. Remember, on our weapon swap, I have increased stun threshold and increased armor. So when we're doing our leap slamming stuff, I'm harder to stun and kill. Then you'll notice I'm actually not leap slamming when I'm in sparse areas. What I'm doing is I'm sprinting, and then when I run up to a mob, I roll past the mob because I can't be stunned while I'm rolling. So I'm not leap slamming. I am just sprint, roll, sprint, roll, sprint, roll, sprint, roll. And that's because I want to sprint because it's fast, and I want to not leap slam because while I am sprinting, because while I'm rolling, I can't be stunned. We take the shrine there because it's a regen shrine. If it had been any of the offensive shrines, a Shrine of Acceleration, Meteoric Shrine, Tempest Shrine, all those different ones, I would have done the checkpoint trick. To explain what the checkpoint trick is, if this is your first time encountering this, what you do is you like collect the checkpoint near where whatever shrine it is, and then if it's a good shrine for killing the boss, you run past the shrine, you go and get the boss arena checkpoint, and then you checkpoint back, take the shrine, checkpoint back to the boss arena, and then kill the boss using the shrine bonus. But this shrine doesn't provide any offensive benefit. We run all the way up here. Once again, Lake of Fire, grenades. So there's no interesting map read in Shrike Island. There are no tricks. There's nothing cool, I promise. There are only 4 Shrike Islands anyways, so if you wanted to memorize it to never get tricked in any of the like little hallways and stuff, you could totally do that. Then we go Makoru. Just so you know, if you control click on Makoru, it opens the map immediately without you needing to click on her and then click set sail. So that saves 1 click. So like, you know, 1.5 seconds or whatever. Okay, then we go to Abandoned Prison. There is a solution for Abandoned Prison. it is extremely simple. Okay, so this is the ship side of the main hallway. So in this case, it's to the up and right. So what I do is I follow the main causeway into this little corridor, into this little courtyard area, and then we hug the ship side. So ship is here, we go this way. If the ship had been here, we would have gone this way. Okay. Then what we do is we are looking for a particular tile, and it happens to be the case that this is a particularly bad illustration of how to map run this, because we get the generation where there isn't the tile that we're looking for, which tells us something. And so what we're going to do is we're going to run over here. And the reason that we want to run over here is because now, at this point, I'm completely confident in where I'm going. So we hugged shipside, and we didn't find the map tile that I'm going to describe. And that tells us we have to come across. Then we find this checkpoint, and now we need to go up left about this much amount, up right about this much amount, and then up left this much amount again, and this will be where the exit is. This is just a memorized thing. There are only 4 layouts here, and it has to do with looking for a particular tile, whether it's early or late, and whether it's like pointing in this direction parallel to the ship or pointing in this direction perpendicular to the ship. There's a guide written for it in the Codex Discord, so you can go like read that if you want to memorize this and become a speedrunner. So this is a map reading mistake. Remember I said we were supposed to go up left a certain amount. I went past that amount. We're supposed to go here now, which I realize. Okay, and then now we're supposed to turn up, and I once again went too far. Okay, so the now, one second, let me go back so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so the now, there's this map tile. Can I just please, like, for the love of goodness? Okay, whatever. There's this map tile. This thing with the gate on it. This U-shaped bit here with this gate on it. Doop, doop, doop. Doop, doop, doop. That tile can occur directly connected to this courtyard thing earlier. So that tile can be oriented like this, or it can be oriented like this. This is parallel to the ship. This is perpendicular to the ship. The position and orientation of this tile, which we creatively call the gate tile, because it has a gate on it, identifies what layout you're in. And so that's all you need to know. If you want to go memorize the solution is out there, but that's the tile that you're looking for. The fact that I didn't see that tile right away tells me it's a late gate tile solution, and then we're good to go. Now we're in Solitary. Solitary, extremely easy layout. You find the seaside, so you see like this is all like map boundary, and we're just going to hug this wall all the way through. Okay, so I could like enter into the interior here. I don't. Instead, we just go whoop, and we follow that wall, and that will lead us directly to where the boss is. Okay, so we're just following the wall and following the wall. It's straight. It's an easy shot. This is the easiest map layout to read in the history of anything. Like, there's just no confusion here at all. And then now we are into the Abandoned Prisoner. The Abandoned Prisoner, extremely easy map layout to read. We're once again doing our Lake of Fire strategy. Very simple stuff. We're trying to convince him to stand back in the Lake of Fire, which is why we reposition that way. Then he's stunned. We throw more oil grenades to extend the Lake of Fire to be under his feet. When he gets to half HP, which we're looking at this like golden crest part of the thing, We're using the middle of it as our benchmark. When he gets to 50% HP, we're going to be required to use a ballista, so we pull that, and then we start pre-stacking explosive grenades because they take a couple seconds to explode. So he goes through his whole thing, and then when he gets to 1/4 HP, which once again we can identify here, use a ballista, and then once again we're pre-stacking things, and we run out of mana flask because skill issue, and then that's it. Okay, now we have Whakapanu Island. Whakapanu Island is an extremely bizarre map. I will try to explain what I'm thinking about, but like extremely complicated solution, like who wants to memorize this? Okay, so we have an entry tile. This side has the checkpoint on it. We follow the non-checkpoint wall. There are 12 layouts here. I will only describe the one that I am doing. We keep following the non-checkpoint wall until we find something we identify. In this particular map, the first thing that we identify, that we like know what it is, the thing that we do there, we get knocked down. If you exit to character selection and then log back in, you end up not having, you end up not being stunned anymore. Okay, now here we have followed this wall all the way around, and now we are in this tile, which is shaped like this, with this blob in the middle of it. This tile is identifiable to me. I call it the scrungle. Scrungle is a nonsense word, it doesn't mean anything. This is the scrungle. The butt of the scrungle points at the exit. That's the solution for this particular layout. There are 12 possible layouts. If we had run into something else identifiable in this particular run, the description would be like, because we found the shark arena here, or some other identifiable map feature that would make sense to normies. Like, you know, you find the petrified pirate, or you find the shark arena, or whatever. That would be what we look at. But instead, I see this map tile with this thing in the middle of it, and I go, aha! I have been scrungled! And so I turn around and run this way. And so now we're in Singing Caverns. Singing Caverns, extremely simple. Singing Caverns has an entry tile that has like a loopy thing like this. In this case, it's a vertical one. So we hug left side, and there's going to be like a blocker in the middle, and the boss is either going to be here or here. We check left side first. There's a reason for left side first. It's something I understand visually. I can't describe it, but this one is probably a left side one, just from the way it looks. Like, from the fact that this lozenge thing is slightly different looking than it would be if it were a right side one. I don't have a word for it. I don't have screenshots to share with you. This is just my intuition. I just think it's probably a left side one because of how it looks. So we go to the left first. It ends up not being a left one. It ends up being a right one. Now, important thing about Diamora the mermaid. I said you should do the mermaid before you do anything else. The reason you should do the mermaid before you do anything else is because you really want to skip the phase on the mermaid. There's no meaningful phase on prisoner. There's no meaningful phase on how do I say this? There's no meaningful phase on bird, there's no meaningful phase on prisoner. But on mermaid, there is one, and that is when she like goes in the middle and sings her song as like a siren of the sea trying to convince you to look at her. What you can do, if you have enough damage, is stun her before she goes underwater, and if you time the stun late enough in the amount of damage that you're doing, you can kill her without ever experiencing that phase. As a grenade player with a good enough crossbow, which we are, we can probably do that. Now, unfortunately for us, I fuck it up in this particular one. But what you do is you stand in this little nook, which is always in this exact position, and then she will always come up from here, and so you can pre-stack your grenades and time them where You throw out your oil grenades, you pre-ignite them. When she turns over, you throw out all of your explosive grenades in that position. She's now on top of them with 12% exposure. She then takes half HP and 70% stun immediately. I still have my 2 flash grenades. I then don't throw the flash grenades early enough, right? So I throw flash grenade and she's 80% stunned. 1 flash grenade would stun her at this point, but she starts leaving the arena and I throw it too late. And so you'll notice she hits 100% stun threshold, but she's uninterruptible at that point, and therefore I have to do the phase. And so you can see I lose a bunch of time there. And then when she comes back alive, we pre-stack a bunch of grenades on where she's going to come up. And we're good to go. And then what we do is we want to go back to town, so we checkpoint to the waypoint to town. Then we talk to the hooded one, and now we get to go to Arastis. We have these boots. These are nice boots. They have 38 max life on them. The reason that 38 max life is nice is because it increases our stun threshold. So we want lightning resistance during the boss fight, but we want max life during the movement portion, because during the movement portion we don't want to be stunned while we're leap slamming. And there aren't enemies that are doing a big amount of lightning damage. So we go to Arastis. And now we do the thing. Now, when we get out of this bubble, we kill this group here, which we don't need to do. However, if you kill this group, if you do die or need to checkpoint reset later on in Arastis, instead of going back to the bubble, you go to the most recent checkpoint. If you don't kill this mob, and then you need to checkpoint reset, or God forbid you die, you end up having to redo this bubble cutscene, which is like a minute of time loss. So I prefer to just kill these guys, even though I don't need to. And then we are leap slamming, Arastis layout, blah, blah, blah. Very confusing Arastis layout. We lose a bunch of time. We grab the Exalted Orbs. We now have, like, the most mediocreest of crossbows, because we slam the Exalts on it, and we're hoping for, like, increased physical damage, and we get, like, you know, not that. But, you know, whatever. Not the greatest crossbow in history, but it doesn't particularly matter. Because bombard crossbows are broken, and our tree has, like, infinite increased damage on it, and so on and so forth. So the most mediocreest of crossbows is totally fine. Now, in retrospect, what I should have done is I should have kept the other crossbow in inventory this entire time and then slammed it. The one that had big fire damage on it. Then we reset at checkpoint to de-aggro the mob that is chasing us, and then we are once again doing like a fire strategy on Torvian here. Torvian fight, not particularly interesting. We're trying to stun him while he's on top of our stuff, but also let him, like, kill his enemies. Kill his, like, little cheerleaders from the bleachers there, so that way he doesn't do a bunch of damage to us. Okay, and then once he reaches 1/3 HP, they say witness his fury, and then he summons his thing, and then we kill him. If you want to watch this whole boss fight, you can watch it, but it's not... I promise there's nothing special going on here. Okay, then we find a sapphire ring, which is potentially really interesting. It has 90 max life on it, but an equipment requirement level of 36. Tragic. And what's really tragic about this is the reason that it has a 36 equipment requirement level is because of the light radius modifier. So, like, the most useless of all of the modifiers that are on it is the one that's preventing us from equipping it to get the good modifiers on it, which is sad. Okay, we're into the excavation. We're into the excavation with 8 minutes to go. I then get a very important text message and pause the run for a second, and we go back to that. We upgrade elemental armament on our grenade, and we're going through the excavation. The excavation is a weird zone. It is like a series of blocks which connect to each other, where, like, they're kind of staggered weirdly, like this. And so what you're doing is you're just trying to get across each one to connect to the next one. The second one has a shrine in the middle of it. There are only 4 excavation layouts. You can just go learn the full excavation if you want. It's not hard. We're taking no XP. We're leap slamming over things. Leap slam is really good in this zone. We get an acceleration shrine. Acceleration shrine, extremely interesting. Acceleration shrine gives movement speed and attack speed. The reason that attack speed matters is because it allows us to pre-stack a higher number of explosive grenades before the boss gets summoned, which is cool. And it also lasts 90 seconds, unlike the damage shrines, which only last like a minute. So we take this because it also gives us movement speed, so we'll get to the boss faster. So now we're leap slamming and attacking and whatever. And we realize what layout we're in. And now we're going to the boss, leap slamming over everything. Not particularly good leap slam placement from me, but oh well. And then I realize that I'm an idiot and where the boss arena is, and we go all the way back up here, and now we find the boss arena. Okay, boss arena strategy for him. He is going to be summoned like between this ring and this ring. Like approximately speaking, he's going to stand here-ish. So we're going to do Lake of Fire strat there. An important thing to know is that he cannot be taken lower than like 20 to 25% max HP without bringing down the Twin Towers on you. So you pre-stack all of your like Lake of Fire stuff, you throw out your oil grenade, you pre-ignite it, you pre-stack all of your explosive grenades before he summons, and then you throw out all your gas grenades, and then he goes to 20%. And then once he gets out of 20%, he's going to like really desperately want to do one of his I summon a giant maze things. Like he's really excited about like showing you that he knows how to make a maze. He's so happy about it. He figured out how to do this, and he's telling everybody about it. So what you want to do is you want to not stun him until he brings down the Twin Towers. And then once he brings down the Twin Towers, stun him before he can do his zippy lightning. I zip over here, and then I summon the maze where you have to run through the slots. Like, thing, right? Don't let him do the thing. Stun him, post Twin Towers, but pre-Return of the King, okay? Now, I fuck up here if I'm not mistaken, and I summon my... I stack my grenades a little bit too deep. Yeah, so I stack my grenades here. I should be stacking them here, but I'm an idiot. Right, so he stands here, and all my grenades are behind him because I fucked up. Okay, but I fix it pretty quickly. And then I'm trying really, really hard to not stun him, and I stun him instead. Just because I have too much damage here. So then he brings down the Twin Towers, and I'm desperately, desperately, desperately trying to stun him. And I have to run the maze one time, and that's time loss because I fucked up the stunning. And then now he gets to go. Okay? So at this point, my PB is in the bag. I'm 8 minutes ahead of my previous PB. Then we get a unique Lamau. We take off our chest piece. I'm double checking if I have anything that I can do here. My amulet has like bad modifiers on it. Increased armor, evasion rating, spells, and strength are all like very sad. And I have a chaos orb. And I go, well, I may as well chaos this in case it hits something crazy. I then get rid of spell and get increased mana regen rate, which is actually pretty good because I've been running out of mana against bosses, right? So like very small W, lowercase w, maybe even just a single U. It's not even a W, it's a single U. But it's, you know, it's good. We come down here, we let Sin reforge the weapon using most of his strength. Then, an interesting thing, you'll notice when the flashbang cutscene starts, you'll notice that our friend here, Tavaka, starts sneaking forward into the flashbang. When he's into the flashbang, right, you can no longer see him. He's stepped forward. This is his shadow. You can do this. You can exit to character selection, spam hit enter to relog in immediately, and then he will still be farther forward because the cutscene hasn't progressed, but the game state has. So then I'm not stunned, and then mystically now he's holding the weapon. It swings around like that. Like, I'll show you again. I relog in. Tavaka's here. Swirl, and now he's there. And then I can just not be stunned by him saying, "Enough! The time for talk is over!" Right? And then he runs away. "Daughter!" After he almost kills his daughter Makoru. And so now we are here, and now we get to go to Nkanu. I can't pronounce it correctly. Whatever. Nkanu. Okay. So we're in Nkanu, and pretty simple stuff. I put on my, like, better survivability, more max life boots. I put on my, like, tankiest setup to get through this thing. We run through this lodge house, and now, very simple layout here for the leap slamming of the way through here. I know that this means that if I run this way, there's going to be a bottleneck. And if I run through this, I can then find the map boundary. And I can just leap slam along this, and then I'll be forced back into the middle. If you are not stunned, can't you just stop him from leaving? No, unfortunately. So I come over here, I go through that bottleneck, I then go and find the map boundary. And then now I'm just leap slamming along the map boundary. Leap slam, leap slam, leap slam, leap slam, leap slam along the map boundary. The map boundary forces me into part of the tribe, so I'm just surfing the map boundary here. And that's it. Part of the Nkanu, extremely simple, map read. And then there are only 4 hearts of the tribe, I believe, and we get a weird one here. Long story short, you will always, after passing this first checkpoint, no matter what heart of the tribe you're in, there will always be 2 buildings, and the correct answer is always to go between them and not into them. Then, the rest of the way, your goal is just to get deeper into the map. And if you ever see a checkpoint, turn around, because checkpoints indicate side objectives, and here we're just trying to get deeper into the map. There is an actual solution to this zone. You can go look it up. It's in the Codex Discord. People have shared it. I have looked at that solution. I have not memorized it. And now we're into Tavaka. Question. I can use Rapid Shot before boss starts for 30 hit to really get 50% more fire damage for your first 2 explosive grenades. True. That is a lot of skill cycling. Also, my chat does not move nearly fast enough for you to need to @ me in order for me to read your message. In the last hour of commentary, I have received, 2 comments. Okay, so then we respawn at checkpoint to de-aggro this mob. Then we promptly die to Tavaka twice. So now we're pre-stacking all of our grenades under his feet. We stun him. We dodge his thing. We then get him to really low HP. So he's under half HP right now, right? He's under half HP. You can see that. Okay, so he should be phased. And so I go over here thinking he's phased, and then he just one-shots me. And I'm confused, and then we do it again. And I'm tilted. And we do the same strategy again. And then I get low, and I get into a bad position, and I get bear slammed. And then this is the time when we actually kill him. Okay, and then now I'm playing like way too carefully and not doing anything like aggressive at all. Okay, now he's phased, and I take a big deep breath, and I try to not tilt. Okay, and then now we try for an advanced strategy, and I don't think I get it here. So we do our Lake of Fire right here against this wall, and then, okay, this is super, this is like fancy advanced stuff that you can and should do. Okay, someone needs to get good at this. If you stand in this corner, so you run in, you get your oil grenades off on him here, and then you stand right here. Notice his hip gets pinned on this corner of this like pedestal, right? And he can't hit you. He will then do a slam attack after his hip gets pinned, where he jumps straight into this corner and you can dodge roll out. So the idea is you want to get him into this alcove in a consistent way, and you can do it consistently, I promise. Then, every single time that you throw grenades at him, they hit this wall, and you'll be able to stack all of them underneath you. Thanks for hanging out, Udex. But instead, I fuck it up, and he ends up in the open world, and so we have to have like a typical Tavaka fight instead of a consistent Tavaka fight. Okay, and then we get him low. And then when his HP starts to recover, we go to character select. You can't do this in races. In races, restarting this way sends you back to the checkpoint, and you have to redo the whole fight. But this isn't a race, so I decided to cheese it because I wanted the PB. Okay, and then we have a very simple fight here because, well, that, for some reason, he was taking, like, no damage. I don't understand why. I guess all my grenades missed. And then, yeah, so now we ended up being as far ahead as 10 minutes ahead, and then those two deaths at the end meant that we lost 2 minutes, and so we ended up getting a 2:35:46. If we had done better in the Topkapi fight to begin with, we would have saved 2 minutes. If we would have done better on XP management, I guess you could save another 4 minutes. And so that's that. Provincialist says you can do that first phase too, by the way. You mean like you can kite him into a specific corner in order to do that? Yes. You don't need to do that if you have a good enough crossbow. It doesn't help enough because his first phase HP isn't high enough for it to matter. And you risk getting pinned in a corner. Whereas in the second phase, it does help because in the second phase he has much more HP than in the first phase. But in any case, that's the run. That's the sort of stuff that I'm thinking about in all the zones. That's what I'm thinking about XP management and gem cutting order. There is also a max roll guide. If you use !speed build, there's like a very, very bare bones max roll guide that exists for the like gem cutting stuff. So hope that helps.